Hello and welcome into my latest live broadcast. Today is the 11th of September 2020. It's Friday, and welcome in. Welcome in. Good to see everybody on this anniversary of the event, 9/11. And I just like to take a moment, to remember the world before that happened, or at least the United States. The world changed after that, or life in the U.S. changed after that, and it will never again be as free as it once was before that occurred. So, a lot of people, a lot of innocent victims, paying a price for governmental policies that were disagreed. Really, real. Not quite sure what the point that was going to be made there was, other than. In a way, they kind of won, in that the bad guys caused some paranoia and cost us some of our freedoms, and you can't underscore the number of innocent lives that were lost over the political stuff. But in remembrance of 9/11, which kind of not a real upbeat way to start the show, but something worth remembering forever. And today, I've decided I've got a couple of builds I need to get done. I haven't quite figured out which direction I'm going to go with today's show, other than I did get a board, another used board off Amazon. This one was only $52, but it was a little bit different. It's an H370M, so it's a micro ATX DS3H. $52. Well, let's give it a shot, see if it works. If it works, we'll update the BIOS, put it away for a future build. I've got a friend of mine who's also a tech journalist peer. His name is George O. I'd like to build George a computer and have him review it, because unlike strangers on the internet, I know who George is, and I respect his writing, and I respect his, he's got a very interesting writing style in that he doesn't really care what his feelings are. He just writes the facts. And I expect George to pull no punches. I expect a full critique, a full criticism of what's good and what's bad on one of these H370 builds. They're the hottest seller I've got. It's the most frequent build I'm asked for. And I asked George, because he's looking at solving a particular problem he's got, and I said, well, I'm trying to find an excuse to get one of my PCs in your hands. And if this happens to solve your problem, then we're both winning. But if it doesn't, it's good feedback for me. So in any event, I might do that a little later. I also would like to get the cooler installed and finish this case up, which is why today's thumbnail is this case. This is so close, I'd really like to finish it. And then I was hoping to get the streaming computer done so I could get Threadripper up here and do it today, but that's not happening today. I've been going since 9 a.m. I've just been going crazy, nonstop, and excuse me. And I just have to keep moving, because in about another week or so I leave for vacation, and I want to try and wrap up as much of this before I leave as possible. So with that, welcome in everybody. Good to see everyone, and a few contributions came in even before we started. Let's see. Sharon Idle contributes a pound. She kicked us off with our first contribution. Thanks, Sharon. And Michael Dane, good friend Michael Dane, contributes $50, and he said, let's start this show off with a bang. Well, thank you, Michael. Thank you very much. Chris Kingan contributes $10 and says, let's get this started right. And Rockin' Rob with $5 says, let's see what this Friday night will bring. Hope everyone is doing well. Right on. Well, thank you guys so much for your support, your contributions, and for being a part of this community. And hopefully we'll get a bunch of new faces in there today. We'll see what happens. And I started to realize, the criticisms that come from people watching free videos online, because they're smarter than everybody else. It started to occur to me that when I title a video, How to Build a Computer, I think these morons think it's a question. how to build a computer? And they feel the need to jump in and tell me how to do it. So now I've decided I'm going to retitle, I'm going to rephrase and make it very clear. This is how I build a computer. We'll see. We'll see if that makes any difference whatsoever. And let's see, Flappity contributes £2, and Thomas Backenstow contributes $50. Wow, thank you very much. He says, hey, Carrie, I match Michael. Right on. Thank you, Thomas. Tom. Can I call you Tom? And yeah, so I want to try this board out. I just want to see if it works. I like to check these out right away, so I have plenty of time within my Amazon return window if there's anything wrong with them. So far, all of them so far have worked. One's a little bit flaky, but again, even that may be not an issue. I won't know till I get to it later. And I've also got some RAM here that won't work in an AMD system. And in fact, I've got 2 sets of this that won't work. And I'm told one of the RAM modules is bad in each set, which I find to be very difficult to believe. I think it's more AMD finickiness, but I'll put it in this system and see what happens. And again, the RAM is under warranty. I think it's a lifetime warranty, and I can take care of RMAing it. But the RAM incompatibilities with AMD are so frequent and so common. I really don't believe it's the RAM until I try it in an Intel system. So if it works in an Intel system, it's still a remaining problem that continues to plague AMD motherboard manufacturers. And until that problem gets resolved, I have very few kind things to say about them right now. They've cost me a lot of money, and I'm trying to stay in business. And all this fanboyism convincing me to invest all this money has really cost me a lot of money. But now I know, at least I know, and you were there to share the experience to know I'm not exaggerating, I'm not making it up. It's consistent over and over and over again that we have all these weird little finicky issues. Even the AMD system that was freezing up that we completely rebuilt, sent back, it's freezing up again. I think the only thing we haven't changed is the solid state drive and the power supply. Everything else has been swapped. I don't know. So I'm working with my friend on that, and I've sent him a completely different system, and I want to see if it locks up, because then it might be something he's doing. But he's a pretty smart guy. I don't think he's doing anything wrong. But I'm not there. I can't see what's happening. And we'll find out one way or the other. If this other system I sent continues to lock up, then he's got something he's plugging in or some software he's adding that's causing something to cause this lockup. And then if it locks up, then I'll send him an Intel system. That'll be system 3 to see if it still locks up. Because if he's got a keyboard or a mouse that's somehow incompatible with these AMD systems, on the other hand, if the other AMD system I sent works perfect, then there is a legitimate problem causing this other system to freeze. But it's very difficult to nail down because it only happens like once or twice a day, and then only when browsing the web or watching YouTube videos or something in a browser. It plays games and runs all the burn-in tests and all the stress tests perfectly. All the benchmarks run great. But it's when it's doing something mundane like watching videos, just randomly, completely, totally freeze up. It's maddening. It's absolutely maddening. And I know if I had sent that an Intel system, this wouldn't be happening. But this is why I went to a friend and not to a customer, because that's the kind of stuff when you're running a business, you guys don't. One of the fun things about the AMD repair I did here, also an AMD, coincidence, was by allowing you guys to offer up all your suggestions, and we all together went down this direction that was completely wrong. And I'm so glad that it happened, because so many people will come in after the fact, right? Typically like on an edited video, and they'll see what the problem is, and they'll say, well, that's the first thing I would have checked. So we had over 1,300 people watching live, and not a single person recommended what was the solution to the problem. We were all sort of going on this whole other direction. And it just goes to show the honesty of it all, right? It goes to show there are people that will post comments about how smart they are because they already saw the end. But they make it out like, oh, I don't know, but maybe it's this, right? Like they're guessing, even though they already clearly watched the video. So doing it live was sort of a way of proving to myself that these magical people who have all these answers don't exist. If they do, they weren't any part of the 1,300 people plus, whatever they were watching that day. And I want you as viewers to recognize that, especially if you read comments in videos, that a lot of these people are just blowing smoke and trying to get attention. And I pretty much remove those comments because they're not beneficial. Like if somebody jumps in and says, well, the last thing you did was the first thing I would have done, how is that helpful to anybody whatsoever? Whether it's true or false, who cares? Like, what is that? So this is the way I do things, not the way you do it, because I know the way I do it's real. It's honest. And the only people I have to impress are my customers, and I have to stay in business. It's not an option whether or not somebody on the internet likes it or not. They're not paying my bills. So I just thought you guys should be aware of that. If you go back and watch that AMD repair video and watch the chat room and watch how off all 1,400 people were, including myself, on what the solution was. It's very eye-opening. I think somebody said, oh, Kerry's blaming us for it. Next thing you know, he'll start charging us for damaging, for him listening. Well, that's the point, isn't it? When you're just a hobbyist and you've got nothing but your own stuff or you're helping a friend, you don't have any accountability. You don't have any responsibility. And if you're going to tell somebody how to fix something and it causes that person lost time or lost money, you should be held accountable for it. And if you don't want to be held accountable for it, then don't say anything. Don't offer up an opinion unless you're willing to be held accountable to it. That's the biggest difference between my YouTube channel and most tech YouTube channels is I'm really doing work. I have customers I have to answer to. I'm not, I'm not just making videos that sponsors pay me to make big commercials for them. I don't do that, and I don't ever want to do that. And I feel like there's a massive shortage of videos from real working technicians. Not that the enthusiast channels are bad, but there's just so many of them. And there's this idea of what's ideal. Well, you should do this or you should do that. But the bottom line is you need to create an income and you need to have happy customers if you're going to do this for a living. And so all of this other stuff is sort of like bling or glitter. It's not something most IT staff deal with in the real world. And it's very impractical. And also, there can be long time consequences of doing things like delidding when putting liquid metal. That stuff will oxidize, and if you're changing your CPU out every 2 years anyway or whatever, then you'll never see it. But if you're like a regular customer who keeps their computer 8 or 10 years, that's going to come back to bite you on the butt so hard. You will so regret it. And the fact that you spent money and time to just end up shooting yourself in the foot, it just doesn't work in the real world where money's being made. It's a good temporary solution to lower your temps, but long term it'll raise your temps if you keep your system more than about 4 or 5 years. It'll oxidize. It'll have the exact opposite effect, making it worse than it was than when you started. And there's people that do this stuff don't warn you of that. If you research it, you can learn more about it. But as a hobbyist thing to do, I guess it's something to do. But running a business, no one's ever asked me to do that, ever. No one's offered me money to do that. And I wouldn't do it because of the risk. It's far too risky. And CPUs are too expensive to make it worth my while to take the time and the effort. That's just a hobbyist thing, man. And that's cool. That's cool. There's plenty of hobbyist stuff on YouTube. Check it out. It's all good stuff. You want to come for a dose of reality, what's really like? Here we are. And I'm glad you joined me. So happy Friday. Let's try this motherboard. Let's see if we got it working here. Thanks to all my friends here in white and blue joining me tonight. Hopefully we'll keep each other company. I like to test people. I like to see who just talks the talk and who can walk the walk. There's some of you who are very, very good, and there's some of you who just think you're good. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. I'm not Mr. Know-It-All by far, but I know I will get there. I will figure it out. And I know that I will be held accountable for it. If I take shortcuts or if I don't do it right, it will come back and it will come back and it will come back and it will come back until I'm either out of business or the customer is so disgusted they take their business somewhere else. So ideally, no matter how long it takes, doesn't matter, so long as it gets done right the first time as much as possible. And then whatever learning curve is in that process, we learn and grow from through that experience and become better. And if everything was always so easy all the time, I wouldn't want to do this job. It would be no challenge. It would be boring. It'd be like playing a video game where you just have to walk your character across the screen without any challenges or anything. You just, what's the game? Well, you walk from over here to over there. And then what? And then you win. Well, I don't want to play that. Why not? Well, it sounds stupid. So then why would you want to live your life like that? You wouldn't want to play a game that way. Why would you want to live your life? All right. So what I want to do today, for right now, what I want to start today with, is testing this H370M DS3H from Amazon Warehouse. $52. That's a smoking deal. Now, I think I took a quick look at this at a previous video, and we saw that the I/O shield had been opened, but we've got the user's manual, disk, and SATA cables. So this was a used board. Somebody did use it. Looks like a pretty nice board, too. It looks like it has 2 USB 3.0 headers and 4 slots for memory, which is a nice touch. And all the screws are there for the 2 M.2 drive slots. Because it's H370, you know, I think I don't know if it's the top slot or the bottom slot. It varies from one model to another. But one is full speed and one is half speed, and you have to look at the documentation. Don't just assume because it's an H370 from Gigabyte, it's always the top, because that ain't the case. It will sometimes be the bottom one on some H370 Gigabyte boards. And what I want to do is just throw this processor, the Celeron, in there. I grabbed another one of my, had to unbox a new power supply since I used the one I unboxed before. This is a 550 watt power supply from EVGA, and that's just brand new. Take a quick look at the socket, make sure the socket looks good. Oh, yeah, I guess it looks okay. Just taking a quick look at it. Just looking to see if any light reflects any differently on any of those pins. It looks all right. And yeah, there we go. So we'll start by just, we'll put the Celeron CPU in here. This is, whatever this is, the Celeron G4900. This is the same chip I was using when I was testing before. It's a great chip to have for diagnostics and testing. And I got my little on-off switch. I guess I can plug that in now. I love how easy that is. I should have done that years ago. This we'll put aside for now. And put that aside. Now I'm only going to use this other CPU fan with no thermal compound because we're just testing. It's not going to stay in there. That just popped right off. Let's see, power supply, let's do that. Get the wire tie off there. I have a production parts wish list, and it looks like Ryan Grady sent me, I had this curtain I wanted. It's a curtain that's meant to absorb noise, to absorb sound, and I really want it for the other studio location to hang it up and see if it helps reduce the echo. So I put it on my production wish list, and I was going to get to that, and it showed up in the mail today. So thank you, Ryan. Thanks for sending that. I will definitely put it to use, and I hope it's going to solve or make some difference in the echo at the other location. And I'm hoping also to get something filmed in the other location, but I won't be able to do it live because the internet there is only 1 megabit up. But I will be able to record to the camera, and then I can take that file back over here, and then I can air that file as a live video replay. I don't know how else to explain it. If I don't do it that way, then you guys won't get the chat room. That's my concern. I want the chat to be open, but you'll obviously tell that I wouldn't be interacting with the chat. So it's not there to fool you. I'm not there to try and trick you. I just would like to show the new place off to you and all the work I've been doing. I'll be back there again doing some more work tomorrow. And there's a couple of builds in progress over there that I'm not filming, but I'll show them to you. I got 4 computers out today. I've got to get 2 more out Monday, maybe 3 on Monday. Actually, maybe I might have to get 4 out on Monday. But the more I can get out on this next week, the more I'll be able to enjoy my time away, so I won't have to worry about it, you know. Won't have it hanging over my head. Now, I do want to say that this is some very basic testing that I'm doing with these motherboards. Before I would sell one to a customer, I would definitely want to propagate all the banks of RAM to make sure that there's no damage to any of the sockets. And I also want to check all the USB ports, and I want to check the audio in the microphone, audio out and microphone in, to make sure that those work. And I also want to make sure that both the M.2 sockets are functional. That would pretty much guarantee the system's working with regards to, reasonable expectation. To go and, check both PCI, to check all the PCI slots, the by 16s and the by 1s, and to check all the SATA ports, and to check all the plugins on the board, it's very, very time consuming. And most customers are not going backwards to SATA anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. But there's always going to be a little bit of risk, and that's why it's not wise to try and trick somebody and tell them that it's new. I can offer it at a discount, and I would do that mostly for friends or family, just because I don't want my reputation on the line about it. And then if there's something wrong, the board is still under warranty through the manufacturer. But if you want peace of mind and you're running a business, trust me, you want peace of mind in your business. You want your customers to have no reason to contact you for support. As much of control of that as you can, minimize it, so that they'll come back and order from you again and again, and they'll refer you to others. It's not worth, a few dollars of extra profit when you're going to lose out extra profit endlessly to the future because you were thinking about profit today, and you'll be hungry again tomorrow, I guarantee it. And what are you going to do when nobody trusts you anymore? Once the word gets out, this guy's selling used parts, it's not really sustainable. It's very difficult to recover any reputation after you do something like that. So there's no problem using used parts, just be very clear. And preferably not to a customer, but to somebody that would be more understanding, somebody you know better, who understands terms and conditions apply given those circumstances. And a lot of places won't even bother getting involved in that stuff. It's just very, very labor intensive for all the testing that has to be done. A lot of times that's sold off. Parts that are returned are often sold off to a third party to deal with that stuff. But let's see, what am I doing? I've got the power hooked up, we've got the power switch, we've got the heatsink down, we've got the RAM installed. Again, I don't know if this RAM is good or not, or at least one of them. I suspect it's fine. And let's get a keyboard and mouse plugged in here. We're going to need video, HDMI. So let's get that plugged in right here. I like that this board has HDMI, DVI, and VGA. Even has a PS2 port. So there's a lot of good backwards compatibility for people that have existing hardware that don't want to necessarily have to buy everything new when they're upgrading from an existing system. Then I think the last thing is just giving the power supply power. What do I do with my power cord? Oh, it's already plugged in. So make sure the switch on the back of the power supply is in the off position. Now this switch it's stuck right in the middle. It's not on, it's not off. It's weird that it'll let you. It shouldn't do that. It'll let you put the switch in the middle, so it's neither on nor off, so who knows. But we're gonna make sure it's off, and then I'll plug power into it, flip the switch on. Sometimes when you flip the switch on, you'll see the motherboard start. You'll see the fan spin up. If that happens, you probably have something wrong with the board right out of the gate. So far we haven't encountered that on any of these return boards, which is good. It's a good start. Everything is as it should be, as though it were new. And if I hit the switch, we should see this fan spin. There it goes. You'll see this light lights up. Let's go over to camera 2. Let's take a look at what's happening over there. Hopefully we get a power on screen in just a moment here. Give it about 90 seconds to figure out what we've done. You know, what CPU has been put in it and what RAM has been put in it. And if it's not going to post, my first concern is that RAM, right? Because we know we had a problem with the RAM on an AMD system. And before I return it or do anything, this is just my very first chance I've had to try the RAM on an Intel system. But I want to give it enough time. I don't want to jump too quickly to any conclusions yet, because this can take a little bit of time to initialize with new hardware. So right now, as you see, it says no signal on your screen, and that's telling you that no video signal is coming from the board. And I'm starting now to think it's not going to. Well, no, wait a minute. The fan slowed down. The system has come back on. I think it was just training the RAM. And let's see if it powers on this. Again, this is maybe normal. There's a certain amount of time where you go, okay, well, you know, it's not going to come on. But I often want to jump to what's wrong too soon when there's nothing wrong other than not being patient. So the system is just now shut off again, and it is powered on for a third time. And at this point now, it should do something. No more than about 2 or 3 power offs and back ons should be necessary. I just want to make sure my HDMI cable's in all the way. That looks good. And yeah, I mean, at this point now, I don't think it's going to come on. It's promising when I see the board switch off. Now it's just switched off one more time, and it's just switched back on. So that's at least the third time that I've noticed it. It might have happened when I wasn't paying attention. But it just looks like it's trying to get some information, and then it's waiting and waiting and waiting, and then nothing happens. So what I'm going to do, let me flip you back over to my main camera here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this back off, which it isn't even responding to. We'll hold the power button in, and that works. And then I'm going to hit the switch on the back of the power supply and pull one of these RAM modules just out randomly. And it will turn it back on. Flip the switch back on, and we're going to try just with one RAM module in. So we'll go back to the output of the motherboard here and see if it wants to play. I won't wait as long this time. Okay, it's just powered off and it's powering back up. The fan seems to be cycling, which usually says it's doing something, it's getting somewhere, but the video, on the other hand, I should get some flicker, I should get some form of something from it by this point. So what I'm going to do, once again, we'll go back to camera 1. And you can watch, you can see the CPU fan is spinning, you'll see the yellow light here is on. And again, if I flip back over, it's still, we're getting no signal at all. So I'm going to flip the switch back off on the power supply and we'll wait for the fan to stop spinning. And I'm still more or less convinced something's wrong with this RAM, more so than the board. So I'm going to put this module back in. Let me make sure I seat it correctly. That's the other problem too. Not seating your RAM all the way can cause a lot of headaches. Something that simple. Let's go back one more time. Let's see if maybe this time we'll get something. And right now, because it's still, there it is, it's the first boot. And if we go into the BIOS, which it should do automatically since there's nothing else to boot from, we can check and see what version of BIOS we've got. It says F13. And I think the latest version is like F14 or something. I had already downloaded it earlier today on my flash drive that I use for BIOSes. This thing right here. So we'll just carefully plug this in. Any USB port is fine. This is all we have plugged in. We're not plugging it into the internet or anything else. No printers or anything. We're just bare minimum because we're testing. And then let me go back over to camera 2. And let's go down here to QFlash. It's down here. And then update. Yeah, 14C. And then we've got F13. And that's the 370M DS3H. That 15D, that's for the other H370 board you guys see here on the channel. And now we just let this update. Don't touch it, just leave it alone. And once this is done, it goes back into the BIOS. I'm going to swap RAM one more time for the same socket and see, just to verify that this other RAM module is in fact bad. Typically, you have to send the RAM back the way you bought it. So if you bought the RAM as an individual module, you send back an individual module. If you bought the RAM as a pair, even though one of them is good, you still send them back in an RMA as a pair because they're matched. It's important that the company you're RMAing sends you a compatible spare, and in doing that, they'll just replace both of them so you won't have any issues. If you bought RAM as a quad channel kit with 4 sticks and 1 stick is bad, you will send back all 4. So you won't be able to use your system, but most RAM is lifetime warranted these days. And it's a lot cheaper to do that than to buy new RAM, especially if it's a quad channel kit. What's interesting on these boards from Amazon is they've all been one BIOS version out of date, which I think is pretty interesting. So that suggests to me they've not been in inventory very long. They weren't sitting in the Amazon warehouse very long. People are buying these things up. It would be interesting to me to see a BIOS that's 4 or 5 versions back, which would suggest it's been in inventory for a long time. What's happening right now is the system's automatically restarting itself. I'm keeping my hands off of everything. I'm not touching the keyboard, I'm not touching the mouse, nothing. And it should eventually take us right back up into the BIOS when it's done retraining one more time. Getting parts that are bad, that are brand new, it's pretty unusual. I mean, for example, that's a used board. It seems to run fine, but that's brand new RAM, and that perhaps has an issue. It's very unusual for a new product to have an issue these days with the automation in manufacturing. So now we got F14C, and we make sure that, hopefully the dates are being enforced. It doesn't matter if the date's off by a few hours or even by a few months. That will self-correct. We just don't want the year to go beyond 2038, or you're going to have a hard time getting Windows installed. So now that that's all verified good, let me take you back over here to camera 1. That's camera 1. And you'll see the flash drive still right there. And so what I'll do is I'll just tap that, should shut her down. And what I want to do is switch the power supply off. I want to pull this module out and put this module right back in the same place and see if it works. Now, if this doesn't boot, I know that this module will be the bad one. And then you don't have to, in fact, you don't mark it or do anything to it because you could void your warranty. You just contact the manufacturer, go to their website, you fill out the RMA form, you explain what the problem is. They'll issue you an RMA number. You don't have to specify which of the two modules is bad. They'll test them and they'll verify. They're not going to believe you until they test it, regardless of what you say. But you're not helping them out by saying, hey, the one on the left is the bad one and the one on the right is the good one. Because you're assuming they're looking at it from the same orientation you are. If the package is upside down or flipped up the other way, left and right is completely backwards. But regardless of that, you don't have to specify which module is the bad module. But you will have to send it back. You don't have to put it in the original box. I see a lot of people keep their original boxes. Nobody requires an original box. You just have to make sure it's packed properly, that's all. Now, because I still have what the memory came in, that's the best thing to put it back in if you have it. But you don't have to have that. You could put that in an anti-static bag, fold it, put the other one in, fold it again, then tape it closed, and then put that in a padded envelope, or preferably a small cardboard box that had some padding around it, and you'll probably be okay. But you'll have to follow the instructions the manufacturer gives you with regards to packing, because they do vary from one manufacturer to another, and if you don't meet or exceed those packing requirements, they may void your warranty. But the packing requirements are very reasonable. So with that other module in, let's turn this on, and maybe it won't boot. Let's see. Won't even turn on now. What, did I not move the switch all the way? That's new. What am I doing wrong? It should at least turn on. Okay, now it's on. Let's try it now. Okay, fan's turning. It's gone off, and it's going back on again. What's happening over on camera 2? Let's see if it posts. It is power cycling. It's going on and off, on and off. It's cycling. That suggests to me, let's see if we can get you a close-up of what's happening here. What it looks like is the motherboard, the BIOS, is trying to talk to the RAM, and it's trying to figure out, hey, what's your specs, dude? And when you see this light go off, that's the system shutting down. So you'll see this light come on right here, and then you'll watch the fan will spin up. And when this light goes off, that fan slows down because it's completely shutting down. And it's trying multiple times to communicate. And then it gives up, and then it waits a minute, and then it comes back on, and it tries it again. So that RAM module is definitely bad. No question or doubt about it. Now I verified it. Now I know, and now I can move forward with an RMA confidently without wasting my time. Nothing worse than a manufacturer saying, we can't replicate the problem, here's the product back. Now you've wasted your postage and your time, and you've waited for it. And it turns out that's not even what the problem is. Let me see what it's doing. Yeah, it's doing nothing. And it just cycled off again. So that's all I need to know. So I'm going to put this back, turn it off, and let it all shut down. And now that I know for a fact that this is bad, which is pretty interesting, it's very unusual, but I'm glad I could show it to you and show you how I verify that. We'll put this right back into its original package, and then I will make arrangements as I mentioned with the we'll go to G-Skill's website. We'll go to RMA. Sometimes you can return the RAM where you purchased it within a certain period of time, but we've long exceeded that time. And I don't have to give them back their little Go Faster sticker, but I've got enough of them laying around. So I'm not worried about it. They can have their sticker back. That's pretty interesting. But I'm glad I know. Now I know. I'm going to set that there because I've got another kit where one is supposedly bad. And you say, well, can't you take one from one kit and just send one whole kit bad? Well, again, they're trained to be together. And you want to have matching, I think it's going to have a matching serial number. So they'll know you did that, and then they won't honor the warranty because they won't know which receipt or which warranty you're covering for which module. And you're really just doing yourself a disservice because if they send you back a non-working kit, it's not really going to benefit you very much. So I'm going to try these one at a time, I think. We'll just put one in here first. And I think these are just 4 gigs apiece. I don't know how I did that, but I think I mistakenly ordered 8 gigs instead of 16. I don't know. I think these are 4 gigs each. No, doesn't matter. Let's just see what it does. All the way down. And that one's all the way down. And then switch, and then turn it on. And then we'll go back over to camera 2. And let's see if we get a post. My friend Ron says, is that the G-Skill kit that I said had a bad stick? Yes, Ron, that's what that is. Does it tell me how much RAM I put in there? The screen I'm looking at is pretty small, so I can't really read it. So we know that module works. Once again, this was another AMD incompatibility or possibly bad RAM. So I'm going to go ahead and put the other module in. I figure if I'm going to diagnose, let's just do as much diagnostic as possible. We're going to check the board and check the RAM. It can make diagnostic really difficult if you end up using bad RAM and a bad board. Then you're really chasing your tail. Then you're going around in circles. Because if this board was bad and that RAM module was bad, it would have taken me longer to figure it all out. But I was pretty confident this board was going to work. I haven't had one from Amazon Warehouse that hasn't at least posted. So I thought, yeah, that'll probably work. Let's just try this RAM. And I was right. I was right in the sense that the board was good. I was leaning towards the fact that I thought that RAM was probably good too, but no. No, my buddy diagnosed it correctly. It does have a bad module for sure. It wasn't just an AMD incompatibility issue. All right, let's see if it'll still post, because this one supposedly has a bad RAM module too. This is one that came out of an AMD system that wasn't working, and we ended up pulling it and putting another brand. Now see, this one works fine. So this was an AMD compatibility issue. You see what I'm saying? It's very confusing. So I think the total, what's our total amount of RAM? I think it just told me right over here, didn't it? Did it say over here? Memory size, but is that total? It should be per stick, unless I have a bad stick. I don't know. I believe they're 8 gigs each. Something's not right. Let's do this. Let me turn it back off. And let's put Windows, you know, and I need storage. I had that Samsung 860. This came out of the original Thready, an old M.2. Let's slap it in here real quick and get Windows 10 installed, and then I can work in a more familiar environment and diagnose a little further. Because if I have an issue with this stick, I can create 2 RMAs at the same time and go to the post office once, you know, to send out both packages. They will have to be packaged individually. You won't pack them together. Each package will have an RMA number on it, and if you try to put 2 RMAs in the same package, you're going to create confusion in the receiving area of the company, and you may only get one back. So you always want to mail it off individually, each RMA in its own package. But if I got to go to the post office, I'd like to do, you know, make it as efficiently, do it as efficiently as I can. This might already have Windows on it too. Let's flip it back on, and I guess I had it on. Let's flip it back on now and see what it does. Kind of curious if it's going to boot to anything. No. All right, good. Good. So let's turn it back off. And then let's put the Windows 10 flash drive in there. And then we'll turn it back on. And now it should boot from the flash drive automatically. It doesn't seem like it's seeing both RAM modules. I think it's only seeing one of them. We'll find out here in a minute. I have to make my screen a little bigger here, guys, so I can see what you can see. So far, so good. I still don't know, though, what my total amount of installed RAM is. And I'd rather just do it this way than dig around in the BIOS. There's so many different versions of BIOS, and they change so much. I'm not exactly sure that I'm not looking at a total or if I'm looking at one stick. So this way, if I do it this way, it's just I'm more familiar with it through this process. But it's just the way I do it. You don't have to do it this way. Now, does anybody have any questions? While we're waiting, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Any questions about the parts, the motherboard? Just rewind this live video, and you can rewind this live video to see what you've missed, so I don't have to keep repeating myself for one person that 900 other people have to listen to. But if you have any questions I haven't addressed yet, please ask. Bob wants to know why I'm not in Michigan yet. Well, because it's not time for me to be in Michigan yet. Another week away, a little more than a week actually. And let's see what we're going to do here. John wants to know if I ever let a machine run for a while using something like memtest 86 or whatever it's called to see if it's good. Yes, every system before it goes to a customer will run memtest 86 at least through one pass before I ship it. If it's local, I don't worry too much about it because it's not a big deal for me to go back out. But if I'm shipping, then I absolutely run it on memtest as just a peace of mind that it passes. It's free. It might take a half hour, 45 minutes or something, but it gives me peace of mind. Ryan says, let's hang out when you come to Michigan. Well, that may be a possibility. I don't know yet. I've got a full schedule of doing nothing. I have to go looking at some homes, and I'll be in Detroit probably for at least a day with visiting some old childhood friends. And then the TechCon for this year in Grand Rapids was postponed until next year. So that's a bummer. But those are extra days I'll have to spend the day on the river, spend a day walking through the woods, spend the day in Traverse City, spend the day, like I said, in Detroit. So it's going to be a pretty full schedule, but it'll be full of me sort of relaxing. And if there's time in there where I can meet with some folks that are there, that'll be fun. But I'm trying to separate, trying to disconnect work from not work. I don't know what to say. So don't take it personally. I just need I need some downtime. Mike says, Carrie, wanted to wish you a great time in Michigan. Enjoy yourself and relax. Hey, thanks, Mike. The most hectic part of it really is getting there. It's 3 days of driving. So as long as we can do that without any breakdowns or accidents or traffic tickets, then I can enjoy myself. But it is all freeway driving, so, it should be fine. All right, so we come now to the final portion of the Windows 10 setup, which I always address exactly the same way. I'll tell it I don't have internet because I don't want to be forced to create an online account. I want a local account, which I'll just call user for now, with no password. And then this doesn't really matter because I'm going to be wiping this out, but I've created a habit of doing it, so I always leave location setting on to set my time and date for me automatically. I don't want Cortana. And then it just goes through this finalizing process of the Windows 10 installation, and then I can go to the system properties and see how much RAM it's going to see. Now, clearly some of the RAM is being used to power our integrated graphics, so we're not going to have the full amount of RAM available. If we went with discrete graphics, then we would have the full amount, but it'll say you've got X amount of RAM, and then in parentheses it'll say this much of it is usable, and that's because the integrated graphics is stealing some of the RAM. That's how integrated graphics works. It doesn't have its own RAM. If you add a graphics card, the graphics card you buy will tell you how much RAM it comes with. And any moment now this should be done. I mean, it's not too shabby for a little Celeron processor to get the job done. And again, I'm not going to keep it in there. That's just for testing purposes. If something were to happen that were to damage the CPU, I would rather it damage the Celeron than a 9700K or something, Not that that's likely to ever happen, but this is all return stuff. Who knows what somebody did to it? Let's just go down here, right click and go to System. I suspect it's only got 8 gigs. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. And there's that 7.87 gigs usable. So we're only seeing half the RAM. And that would suggest that we have either a bad RAM module or a bad RAM socket. So here's what I'm going to do now. We'll shut this all down. And then I'll take you back over to camera 1. There we go. And then this fan should stop. There it goes. I'm done with this flash drive, so I'm done with that. And I'm going to flip the switch off on the power supply before I do any work on the system here. And I'm going to pull this module out, because remember, we booted with this one originally, and then I stuck the other one in. And I'm going to move this one over to that slot. And I want to see if it still tells us that we have 8 gigs of RAM. This should be interesting. Let's see what happens. We'll flip the switch back on, power it back up, and then switch back over to camera 2. Now, if that's a bad module, nothing should happen. Like, we should be back to where we were when we were testing. But see, look, that's got to be 8 gigs of RAM. It can't be anything less. Oh, wait, could it be 4? Maybe these are 2 sticks of 4? No, I wouldn't have done that, would I? Well, that's when you need to start looking at the RAM model number. But I believe this model number has a 16 in it. Oh, it doesn't. I think this might be 4 gigs each. Yeah, it is. It's 4 gigs by 2. So now we'll probably have 4 gigs of RAM. That's what happened. So the RAM was being detected just fine. I don't know how I would have gotten 2 sticks of 4 gigs. It must have been a mistake. Interesting. Very interesting. But yeah, if I go back down onto the start menu, right mouse click, go back up to system, it'll probably say 4 gigs now. It does. So I think what happened here is I think somebody thought they were dealing with 16 and they were only getting half of it, but it was actually 2 sticks of 4. So that RAM's fine. And, Windows 10, as you can see, runs fine on even 4 gigs of RAM. It's just going to swap a lot. Wouldn't make sense to have 4 gigs of RAM with a 960 EVO NVMe drive, but whatever. That's the reason why it can swap so quickly. It's swapping to the NVMe drive. If it was swapping to a cheap mechanical drive, we'd be here a while. So that's interesting. So here's what I need to do. Since I know that this is 8 gigs of RAM now, which, by the way, the memory module set it the whole time, but again, if you're not dealing with the same memory manufacturer, the way that they do their model numbers can vary in how you can determine what a memory module is, and especially if you're dealing with any used memory, you don't know if it might have been part of a kit. And sometimes they'll have the total amount of memory on the module for the kit rather than per module. It can be very deceiving, very misleading. Like this one, this says 8 GVR, which would make you think it's 8 gigs. But then elsewhere it says 4G by 2. You're like, okay, well, clearly that's 4 gigs times 2 modules. So what I'm going to do to remedy this so it doesn't happen in the future, because the RAM looks exactly the same on the outside, right? You can't tell this RAM apart by looking at it with an untrained eye. It looks exactly identical. So what I'll do is I'll put this back in this package, and then I'm going to get a marker, and I'm going to write on it, on the package, that this is 2 sticks by 4 gigs each. And I don't know what I'll do with it, but it'll turn up in something, I'm sure. There'll be somebody who wants something really cheaply. And it does say on the back of the package, once again, it will tell you with the model number, but you've got to know where to look, and it does vary from one manufacturer. I'm typically looking up here, so I see that C16D and then I see the 8G, and I think, oh, it's 2 sticks of 8 gig for a total of 16, but that's not what that means. No, it's actually further down here that you'll see it says 4 gigabytes times 2, and then of course you've got all your timings down there. So this is cheap, very inexpensive RAM. But because that's so subtle, I'm going to grab a Sharpie, because remember, I'm grabbing things quickly, and I don't even know how I got this. This had to have been either sent to me by a viewer, or I have mistakenly ordered something. The problem is I've got parts sitting back there for over a year that are still new in a box, and I don't necessarily know where individual parts came from unless it's something really special and expensive. So I'm just going to write 8 gigabyte total, and on the other side I'll put 4 gigabyte each. That should be really clear to me the next time I see this, but at least I know that RAM works. So now I just have one bad RAM package, which is fine. I mean, I'm going to the post office either way, but I'll just do one RMA. And this RAM needs to go into a different area. It needs to be identifiable as different than my other RAM is either 16 or 32 gigs. I don't deal with anything less than that. So I don't know how the heck I got this. I don't know how old it is. I don't know when it arrived. I have no concept or idea. And it's not valuable, so I don't care. But as far as what my goal was to start this video off, which was determining if this board was good or bad, we've established the board is fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wipe Windows 10 off of this drive. I'm going to reset the drive. I've shown you how to do this before, but I'm going to show you again. We're once again going to boot off the Windows 10 media. So we'll plug that in. I'm going to need a RAM module in it. Should have done that before I put it away. I'm just going to grab whatever I can grab. I'm not even going to pay attention. Here's something. This will work. I'm just going to grab one module. And power supply is switched off. Always work on the computer with the power supply switched off or the power cable unplugged. Okay. And then when I turn this back on, I'm going to want to instruct the computer by hitting F12 with a gigabyte board that I want it to override the normal boot order, which would be to the M.2. I want it to boot instead to the flash drive. So let's fire this up. And let's go to camera 2 again. And this should fire up with no problem, because I know that module works. There we go. And I'll press F12, and then I'm going to boot to the UEFI Samsung, or SanDisk is what I mean to say. And that starts our Windows 10 installation media one more time. And I will just quickly go through the beginning part where it asks where to install, and I'm going to delete all those partitions off the M.2 drive. This really doesn't, this is a formality, doesn't matter what you pick, because we're not going that far. I just want to get to this next stage right here, and I'm going to select each one of these partitions and choose delete. Now that drive is completely reset back to the factory spec, which is how it came out of the box 2 years ago when I unboxed it. It's not formatted, it has no partitions. That is a completely erased, not securely erased, but it is a wiped out drive. It will no longer boot. It's just like brand new. Now I can turn the machine back off, so we'll just hold the power button in until the machine turns off. Perfect. Then I'll switch the switch off on the power supply so we're not working with any voltage on the board, and everything can come off the board, and I know the board is good and I can use that. Somebody somewhere needs this board. Somebody needs a cheap computer that they want it to be fast. I like that it has the two USB 3 headers on it. That's a nice little touch. And let's get that M.2 drive out of there. And we'll set that module aside. Done with that. Give these towers a little quarter turn each in the direction of the arrow on top of the tower, and that is to release it. You'll see I hold down the heatsink until I've released all four, and then I lift up on it, and then I can turn these back, and now this is ready to be used again the next time I want to test something. It's pretty handy. I like it. I just put this on the wrong mouse. I see what I did. Okay. All right. And let's take the CPU out of there. Carefully. Let's go right back in the box. And we definitely want to put this little plastic cover back over the socket. Make sure that that stays protected. This will go back into the anti-static bag. I'm going to close these little latches up. The retention levers on the RAM so they don't get hung up on anything. Just try and make the board look like exactly the way we would expect it to anytime we're removing a board from the anti-static bag. And then always hold the board by plastic. Don't touch anything metal underneath of it, so you don't have to worry about any electrostatic discharge. You can also wear an anti-static strap if you are concerned about that. Or if you hold the parts correctly, there's no place for a static discharge to go other than a grounded area, which wouldn't cause any harm. So holding the parts in the right way is critical. If you don't want to wear an anti-static strap, you don't have to if you understand how to hold the parts. If you don't understand how to hold the parts, you definitely want to wear an anti-static strap. Let's see, that doesn't seem like it likes to go that way. Maybe it wants to go this way. Yeah, it's good. All right, that feels good to know that that is just another successful board purchased from Amazon Warehouse. This one, as I mentioned, this was $52. It's a great deal. So let me put the board somewhere. And let's get this RAM module back where it belongs and the CPU back where it belongs, because we're done with that for now. And I'll take my CPU fan back and put it where it goes. Look at me putting stuff back where it goes. Just keep that unplugged for safety. Might not need this for a while, depending on what I do next. Just put that there for now. Oh, this has to go in the motherboard box. And I can just go on top, that's fine. Okay. All right, let's get this out of my way too. Oh, a few contributions have come in. I haven't been paying attention. My bad. Here I was working. What have I missed? Rakshit Patel with $1.99 says, Happy Friday. Hey, happy Friday, Rakshit. Paul O'Brien with €2 said, what's the name of the alcohol you use to clean the CPU? It's usually rubbing alcohol, denatured alcohol. Rubbing alcohol is fine. You just want the highest alcohol content. But don't use that rubbing alcohol with the really high alcohol content to also clean any wounds or to disinfect any wounds, because you want water in there to be effective at that. So you'll often find rubbing alcohol of different alcohol levels. Like I was at Walmart and I saw they had one that was like 74% alcohol and one that was like 95% alcohol. And you can look on Amazon and you can see there is 99% alcohol. That higher number is what you want for cleaning computer parts or electronics, and the lower number is what you want if you're cleaning or disinfecting wounds. Don't mix them up. Rick Hubbard contributes £5. He says, it's 2:45 in the morning and I just woke up. Here's Carrie, almost better than an early breakfast. Nice. Thanks, Rick. Copwatch Transparency in Virginia contributes $2. He says, check your PayPal. All right, we'll do that here in a minute. Red Dragon contributes $2. He says, hey all, nice to be back. Well, it's good to have you back, Red Dragon. Good to see you. Speesbort Zapfinger contributes $5. Are you related to Zaphod Beeblebrox? Mario L contributes $5. He says, F15. Hi, Carrie. F15. Rock and Rob contributes $2. Hey, thank you so much, Rock and Rob and Marty, Speesbort, Red Dragon, Rick Hubbard. Check my PayPal, he says. Well, let's see what we got going on. You can check my PayPal. Oh, somebody's trying to reach me. I'll invite a friend to, wants to join me on camera. I remember when we used to talk. Now we just use one finger to type. So much for that touch typing class I took, huh? What else am I missing? Here's a contribution from Fred Larson for $20. Thank you, Fred. And a very generous contribution from David, $250. Wow, what did I do? What do I what do I owe you now? That's very generous. Wow. Were you in that band called Pink Floyd? Is that who you are, David? Hey, listen, thank you so much for, that's a very generous contribution. This is a Good Friday. That's a Good Friday. All right. Now I know why they call it Good Friday. That's not why they call it Good Friday? Well, that's good to me. This is my Good Friday. That's my YouTube religion. I don't know. Oh, and the money got retracted. It just offended somebody. No, I'm just kidding. John Barondale contributes $5. He says he was a former PC technician from 1968 to 1998 to 1999. He says, you're doing great. Well, we didn't have PCs until 1981, but okay. You were a computer tech of some type, working on some form of computers. That's cool. That's cool. Thank you for the contribution, John. Birds of a feather. I mean, we did have, Commodore PETs and Ataris and Commodore 64s and VIC-20s and Timex Sinclairs and TI-99As and, I don't know, I guess Altair 8800s, stuff like that. That was Apple IIs, yeah. Akon says that'll buy a new flip phone. Not the new Motorola Razr 2, it won't. That thing's $1,400. Not that I know. Wayne says hydrogen peroxide doesn't sting as badly on wounds. I agree. Not exactly sure the difference between witch hazel and hydrogen peroxide. I often see those side by side at Walmart as well. Sharon Idle says, where's mine? I don't know, Sharon, where is it? It's wherever you left it, Sharon. See? OCD. It's putting stuff back where it goes. John Barradale says he worked on PDP-11s and C64 started out, MS-DOS and on. Yeah, well, that checks out. Steve Warrington with $2. Thank you, Steve. And Cop Watch Transparency of Virginia contributes $2. He says, this is David Gilman. So I didn't know if you wanted me to say your full name, David. That's why I did that intentionally. That's a very generous contribution. But isn't David Gilman the name of the guy from Pink Floyd? Wasn't his name David Gilman? Hold on. Are you that guy? No, you wouldn't be in Virginia. Did he spell it Gilman? Pink, hold on, this bothers me now. Pink Floyd, David Gilman. Wasn't his name David Gilman? Yeah, that's his name, David Gilman. Are you David Gilman? Are you that David Gilman? Just roll with it and say yeah. Well, you got a lot more money than that. Oh, David Gilmore? Why did it come up as Gilman? Oh, because somebody on YouTube mistyped it. I see. I see what happened. It's David Gilmore. Well, that pretty much explains how well I know the band members of Pink Floyd. Wasn't one of the guys like... I better not say anything. I'll embarrass myself. I was going to say Roger Waters. Is that right? No, I don't think it's right. Now I have to look this up. Oh, it is Roger Waters. Okay. Ooh, I need to chill out and listen to some Pink Floyd. Gilmore, not Gilman. All right, perfect. Nice. And Thomas Beckenstowe contributes $100. Wow, very nice. He says, this is a super show, and my PC you build is awesome, and I love it. Have a great time in Michigan. David Gilmore. He caught me. Thank you so much, Thomas. You're very generous tonight as well. RM with $4.90. Let me try again. RM contributes $4.99. He says, hello from Tennessee. You have an awesome community here, and thank you for sharing your knowledge. Well, thank you for joining us and being a part of the community. Kevin Arsenault contributes 20 Canadian dollars. Thank you, Kevin. And then David Gilman, when I receive these large contributions, I always like to reach out to people personally and say, look, here's my email address, here's my phone number. You contact me, email me, call me, text me, whatever, anytime you want. Like, I'll make myself available. I certainly feel indebted to people that are so extremely generous. And it's kind of funny to me because most of the time, the people that do that are the people who ask for the very least in return. But I'm so accustomed to getting people just constantly asking and asking and asking. And it comes from people not asking for stuff. And it's mostly coming from people who give nothing or offer nothing. So that's just pretty interesting how that often works. But don't hesitate to ever reach out to me for any reason. As Thomas knows, as Marty knows, and John Jack Wilson and Peter Laycock and David Hale. We've got a number. Stephen Bernstein has been very generous, and even Tony Wallow. You guys can absolutely reach out to me. I'm here for you. I'm absolutely. When you have 1,000 people all vying for a moment of your time, how do you determine who gets an email back, who gets a phone call back? And that's the way I do it. It's all, whatever I can do to make sure that you understand how much I appreciate your generosity, and the fact that you're a member of the community. Now, it doesn't have to be. Oh, and Frankie B. So Frankie B says check your email. Frankie B's been a frequent contributor as well, and Frankie's got my phone number. Like I said, it's the right thing to do, and I want to make sure that I'm not somebody who just takes. I also want to return whatever I can to people that are generous to me. I'm generous back. And the people that just want to keep taking, I do try and answer them, but I just can't get to all of them. Sometimes people will write me emails that, on a phone, they go on for like this long. And I'm like, well. And it's usually somebody who's, trying to get a computer from 2008 to have Windows 10 on it, and they want to know why it's not working. And they've not done anything to contribute to support the channel, but they still want to, pick my brain for stuff. And if I had all the time in the world, I'd love to help. I want to help everybody, but, that's all I can do. All right, let me check email. Couldn't do this on my flip phone, huh? All right, he doesn't want to come on camera. Or he can come by tomorrow. Okay, email. Oh, a $200 Amazon gift card from Frankie B. Hey, Frankie, thank you. And Jason Cordery sent $100. Well, you guys have started some momentum here. Wow. So all you guys, wow, thank you so much. So it's these kind of unexpected and extremely generous contributions that I never thought, when I started YouTube, that would ever, that wasn't a concept. And it's because of that I can do stuff like this, which is, goes against the whole point of the channel, really, which is to do something silly and just for fun. And that's this Cougar case. Now, honestly, it's like a $300 case. And you might think that's a lot of money, but I've got to tell you, there's a couple of mini ITX cases that will rival financially the cost of this case and are a quarter of the size and a quarter of the weight. So price per pound, you're getting a great deal here. Now, I realize this is over the top ridiculous. I don't have a single customer that has expressed any interest in wanting anything like this. And I put it together to be the most ridiculous and over-the-top thing, with the idea being that I would attract other viewers that are It's sort of like being a musician and saying, okay, if I want to be a popular musician, I have to play pop songs. So I'll release a couple of pop songs, and then I'm going to go back and do what I do. And maybe that audience will stay. Maybe they'll hear the rest of what I do, but at least they'll know I exist. So I'll do something sort of eye-catching, eye candy, because I can afford it, because I can now take these contributions and put them back into the channel. And who knows, maybe you guys want to see it too, right? But this thing is going to be massively expensive to ship it. But here's something weird that happened. After I put it together and I powered it on with I think it's got a 10700 or 10700K in there. I really like it. I didn't expect I was going to like it, so I kind of want to keep it. But I don't know how I'm going to keep the dog hair and dust out of it because it's an open concept case. Let's see if I can get this thing pulled out of here. Oh, look at that. Oh, so stupid. All right. Now, I got another Corsair 200R down there for another build. And a few other contributions have come in. Let's see, what have I missed? John E. Reese with a $3 contribution. My thanks to John. Make sure you turn blue in the chat here. Tristan G with $2 says, thank you for all the fun teaching you do. I learned much. I'm not done yet, but thank you. Excuse me. Ryan Grady contributes $5. Ryan's the one who sent the black curtain, not little, it's big, but the sound dampening curtain. And Ryan has sent a few other things, including a case he wants me to review. So thank you for all of your support. I appreciate that Ryan looks on the wish list rather than just sending me stuff that you think I might need, because a lot of people, too many people want to surprise me and they end up sending me something where I'm in an awkward position, where it's something I don't want, I might already have it, and I don't use it. But I do appreciate the thoughtfulness. I know a lot of it's still generous and it's still very thoughtful, but I didn't want it and I can't use it. So it's cool that Ryan does that. A few others do that as well, but I really appreciate that they look at the production wish list if they wanted to send me something. Cooter contributes $5. He says, thank you for all you do. Hey, thank you, Cooter. And Blackwatch contributes $2 Canadian. He says, have a blast in Detroit. Oh, I always have a good time. Tim Oliver contributes $30 Australian. Hey, Tim, thank you. Let's make sure you're blue in there as well. William Romero contributes $5. He says, Kerry, I just want to tell you that I got those speakers and I love them. I included a link to the Klipsch 2.1 THX certified computer speakers in today's video, just as a reminder, in the video notes of today's video. Just as a reminder, they're still on sale at Costco. A lot of people have said they're in the Costco stores. It was my understanding it was online only. But I don't like going into any stores right now with this pandemic. I much prefer to have just stuff show up at my door. And I've had those speakers, gosh, I'm on my second set. And I ordered a pair for $99 to put over at the other studio. In fact, I just brought them over there last night. They're still in the box. I haven't had time to hook them up. But they're the best. Some people are expecting it to have an on-off switch and stuff. And one person so far said they didn't like the sound of them. But I know if you don't like the sound of those, you've got to be a very difficult person to please, because they are amazing. And I think that anything that sounds better than those speakers is going to be a lot more money than $99. But if you know something that sounds equivalent or better for $99, please let me know. They're the best I've found for the price. And to spend any more wouldn't make any sense, because they don't leave me wanting at all. And modern day speakers generally don't have an on-off switch. The speakers that have on-off switches, those are usually the cheap $10 speakers that come with the, Dells and HPs and stuff. Generally, speakers like stereo speakers don't have on-off switches. They're usually controlled by the amp. And so these speakers now have intelligent electronics where they go into a low power standby mode when there's no audio signal being sent to them. So it's not like you're wasting electricity any more than when you turn off a big screen TV or any flat screen TV. It's still a little vampire as far as energy goes. It's never completely off. Same with your computer. It's never completely off. That's why I always tell you to unplug it. And of course, if you were that concerned, you could just unplug the speakers if you wanted to, or plug them into a surge protector that has an on-off switch. But again, if you want electronics, in my experience, if you want electronics to last trouble-free for a very long time, leave the thing on, especially when it comes to computers. I have all of my businesses that I have on retainer leave their computers on 24/7. And this is done for a couple of reasons. One, I want them to get the automatic Windows updates at night when they're out of the office. Two, I want to be able to remote in to do additional updates or maintenance, backups and things like that after hours. I want to be able to do that at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday when I'm not interfering with their workflow. And then, of course, reliability-wise, I have personally found problems generally occur when a computer is turned on. That's likely when I'm going to get the call, is on a Monday, where they shut the computers off on Friday. Everything was, as far as they knew, everything was fine, but it clearly wasn't. And then on Monday, they turn the system on and won't power up. So we just leave them on, and you live in a country where electricity is relatively inexpensive, like here in the USA. Those speakers might cost 4 cents a day to leave them plugged in, maybe. So I'm not too worried about that. But if you crank those speakers up and you're pushing through 200 watts, it'll use a little bit more power then, you know. But when you're not sending any audio signal to them, the amount of power is almost immeasurable. It's nothing to be concerned about. So I'm glad you like them, William. I've had a lot of people say they're great speakers. Just one other person said they were on their second set because the little plastic spring clip for the speaker broke. Mine did that too. And I tried to replace it and it didn't work. And I gave them to a friend of mine and he fixed it. And I said, well, you can keep them. I don't even want it. I ordered a new set because the sub over time, it gets brittle and the sound degradation starts to go down. But after like 10 years, it's a good idea to just buy a new set because they're going to sound better, even though they may still work. And I didn't move the speakers that much. I think I moved those speakers in 10 years. I might have moved them 3 times. But I'm in the desert, it's dry, and the little plastic clippy thing just got brittle, and you pushed it in, and it just broke, and that was that. And those were $250 when I bought them. Now they're $100. Same exact speakers. If anything, they've improved them. So Sterling contributes $5. He says, I just tossed $20 at your PayPal. If everyone's jumping off the cliff, I'll jump too. I don't know that that's a good policy, but thank you for supporting the channel. Armed Chinchilla contributes $5 and says, happy Friday. It's really a good Friday. Randy O. Red contributes $4.99. He says, I appreciate all that you do. Thanks for all the love. You guys are really showing the love tonight. Just the contributions, but your kind words. I'm so used to being attacked that I don't even know how to respond to all this. It's a little overwhelming. Michael Dane contributes $5, says, Carrie, you're dissecting nomad. Where do I know that from? That's from a movie, right? Wasn't that from, no, that would be NORAD. Never mind. Madi Yoel contributes $5. Hey, Madi, thank you. Kazanson says, if I had the funds, I would use the Chappie case. The case, it's easy to work with. Yeah, and the chutzpah emitted sings to my old Marine Corps heart. Robert says, I'm new to your channel, but love it so far. Hope you and your mod stay safe. Well, now you're a mod too, Robert. How about that? See how easy it is? Just don't be a jerk, and you can be a mod too. So what I want to do, now that I've got this out, and it's so easy to work on, such a pleasure to work on this, I was trying to figure out a way to get the graphics card to sit upright. You need a PCI extension, I can't find one. Somebody said it was on Cougar's website. You're going to have to send me a link because I can't find it. I have no idea how I'm supposed to put my graphics card in vertically. But for right now, we're using the onboard graphics, and I installed Windows 10. We got this Crystal Royal RAM, which was over the top, has been compatible with every system, AMD, Intel, or otherwise. So even though it's a bit more expensive for the bling, it's actually pretty nice RAM for the money. It's not just bling. You're getting much better RAM, and the LEDs are much more muted. They're not. That makes a huge difference as far as I'm concerned. That they're just more subtle. Because it's a subtle computer. But I don't want all the attention going to the RAM. I want the attention going to the case. What I want to do is I want to take this processor out, which was it a 10700 or a 10700K? I can't remember. It's a 10700K, and I've got a 10850K, which probably makes a difference of about 4 or 5 milliseconds in most of the applications I'll be using. But gosh darn it, this thing deserves the best. So let's do it. I've been wanting to do this. This thing's been staring at me, teasing me for how long? How long has it been up here? I just wanted to do this. Oh, look at that go faster sticker. That's a fancy one. Oh, good. An extra piece of paper that is written in Chinese. I don't think there's a language called Chinese, Carrie. I think it's Mandarin or Cantonese. You know what I meant. They don't eat Chinese food either, do they? No, they just eat food over there. So what I'll do, in order to do this safely, is I'm going to take that CPU out while the case is laying flat, and then I want to put that CPU in that little case until I figure out. I've got a couple of their socket 1200 motherboards that will go in. One of them, I don't know which one yet. Another problem for another day. Ooh, cutting it a little close there. So I originally had the little, what was it, the Noctua cooler on here, the air cooler. And I said, that cooler is a really nice cooler, but not for this case. This case deserves something nicer. So I got the Cougar power supply that color matches, and I got the Cougar all-in-one liquid cooler. Even though I'm not going to be overclocking it, it's all just for color matching and looks. And both the cooler and the power supply were about $180 a piece, which is ridiculous. But then you don't have to do any custom modding. Everything's already done for you. So I don't have any custom modding skills. And I don't really want to develop any because I don't have time. There's a guy named Bill Owen who I want to pay him to commission. I want to commission him to do a build for the channel. And he does everything. He'll fabricate parts, custom paint. We just need a theme. And I was thinking like an 80s arcade game kind of theme, but I don't know specifically what. And Bill's like, tell me what you want. And I kind of prodded at Bill a little bit and said, well, is there something you've always wanted to do? Because, if you do this amazing work based on what other people's ideas are, what ideas do you have? Because that could be pretty cool. But if you have an idea for a custom modded case based on some theme, let me know what that theme should be. Maybe Speed Racer or something. You can have all kinds of Go Faster stickers. I don't know. Probably not enough people know what that is anymore. But boy, this guy's got talent. You can look up Bill Owen on LinkedIn and look at the work he does. Absolutely incredible detail. Anyway, I'm so impressed by it because apart from all the fabrication and the painting and the customization, behind all that is a really solid computer, right? So he's doing everything I'm doing with regards to CPU, RAM, motherboard, BIOS configuration, all that stuff, Windows installed. But on top of that, he's doing all this custom case, painting, fabrication. It's just over the top. Very jealous of his skills. I don't know how much time he must spend on any particular build, but it's got to be, I mean, based on the quality of the work I'm seeing, he's got to invest quite a bit of time in that. Okay, so here's our 360 millimeter cooler. Let me just set that there for a minute. I actually think the price on the cooler was pretty good, but the price on the power supply, not so much. But that's all right. Like I said, it's kind of a one and done deal. I don't intend on building another one like this. Not exactly like this. And let me put this chip away. Just put that over here. Let's see if my friend is going to pop by and pick up his... Oh, Crystal. Crystal built or is building a computer based on some recent build videos, and the parts that Crystal selected look, I'm jealous, including the Klipsch 2.1 speakers. Like there's all these boxes, motherboard, chip, RAM, the Klipsch speakers. I'm like, oh, that's going to be a good system. And Crystal sent in a $200 Amazon gift card just to say, hey, thank you for teaching me, because I know if I were to buy a system like this pre-built, it would cost me at least $200 more. So that was really kind. Well, my friend wants to know what time. I've got a friend who needs to pick up a part, and I'm just trying to figure out if he wants to do that. And then a couple other, let's see, Daniel McClure sent $20 via PayPal, and Bruce Hilton sent $4.99 via PayPal. I don't normally check the PayPal stuff during live broadcast, but, I'm not doing anything normal tonight, so why not? So thanks, you guys. Thank you for that. I think what I want to do with this cooler is put it on where we can see it. So on this case, we can put the cooler up here, but we're not going to see it up here. But we can put it right here vertically and have the fans blowing air out so we can see the colors on the fans. And that's where I want to put it, right there. And then we'll run the pipes, over to the water block here. This chip doesn't need a water block. These 10th gen chips run about 10 to 15 degrees Celsius cooler than the 9th gen or 8th gen or 7th gen because Intel made the dies thinner. So they're refining their 14 nanometer process isn't necessarily something to sneer at. What they've done here is pretty remarkable in cooling. And if you want to overclock a chip, you need it cool. That's one of the battles of limitations of overclocking is the amount of heat that you're going to battle as a result. And AMD chips don't run as cool as 10th gen Intel chips. I'm going to scratch that if I'm not careful. Get mad at myself. All right, so this is the Hellor 360 millimeter rather, all-in-one liquid cooler from Cougar that should color match everything perfectly. I've been waiting to do this. I'm so excited. I should probably move the camera a little more this way, huh? Okay. And it's upside down. That's good, because if I'd have pulled this out, it all would have just fell on the floor. And then who knows what damage I would do. Wow, they've enclosed it. That's weird. I've never seen that happen before. Wow, that's a big pump. Holy smokes, they're not screwing around. Wow. Look at the size of that. That's crazy. Now, is that actually a little fan, or is that just for... Oh, no, there's liquid in there. I see a bubble. So that is actually the pump. That's a pretty good price for that then. 180 bucks? Yeah, that's decent. Power supply for 180? It's an 850, I think, modular. I feel like that should be like 150. Still. And that's also interesting that I've never seen them put, usually the hoses go side by side or one above the other. I've never seen them offset like that. I like that we're doing things different. What's going on up here? What's with this knob? What's this for? Where's my... I gotta read what it says. This is a whole new experience here, folks. Warning. Void if removed. Well, I guess we're just gonna leave that alone then. It's probably where they filled it, would be my guess. Boy, that's big. All right, so if we're gonna put this in, what? We're gonna put it in like this. That. Is that right? Yeah. It'll go like this. Oh, yeah. This is so stupid. Because, you know, every water block needs a remote control. You got to have a remote. Does your all-in-one liquid cooler not have a remote? Loser. This just gets more stupid the more I open it. You got to have a fan controller, because it'll go with the other fan controller, so we can have more fans to control. Well, I'm sure that's not going to be more cable management. What is this? Wait, what did I just get myself into? I thought this was pre-filled. I got to do work? I mean, it looks like it's pre-filled. I see a bubble. What is this for? Why did they give me coolant? Is this for me personally? Antifreeze to -5 degrees centigrade. Do not drink and keep away from children. Well, I do try to keep away from children, but they're like little magnets. What am I going to do with this? Am I going to have to read directions? Really wasn't looking forward to reading any directions tonight. Okay, I know what these do. Oh, we got directions. Okay. All right. Oh, it wants me, there's a little filler on the pump. I see. We could totally do that. That's in my wheelhouse. I can handle it. And then there's our mounting kit. Oh boy, am I going to have enough time? How long is this going to take? Suddenly that air cooler doesn't seem so bad anymore. Oh, I'm so lazy. Efficient. I'm really efficient. And this is not efficient. But it's going to look pretty cool. Oh, hell. I've already started it. I thought it was just going to be like any other all-in-one cooler. I've never seen one that you had to top off before. That's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. All right, here's the parts. It's a maintenance kit. It says this is a maintenance kit. Okay, that's weird. Usually all-in-ones are sealed. All in one, done, and it's all done. Okay, these are the screws, and it's got a little scraper for spreading thermal compound. Somebody spreads thermal compound. You're not supposed to do that. First thing it wants us to do is put the back plate in. That's the first step. So I guess, even though it doesn't say socket 1200 over here, socket 115X is the same dimensions for any cooler installation instructions that were written before socket 1200 came out. And a couple other contributions I noticed out of the corner of my eye, so let me give a few shots out. Oh, I see. John Panarelli with a $10 contribution. Thanks for all your contributions, John. James Morris with $5 says, thanks for another week of great content. Hey, James, thanks for hanging out with me this week. Robert Malovich contributes $5. Just making sure I got everybody as moderators in here. Robert Malovich is not. Well, you are now. He says, have a great vacation in Michigan, Kerry. Hey, thanks, Robert. Michael Dane contributes $5. He says, Nomad is from the Star Trek, the original series episode, The Changeling. Trying to remember. It's a long time. Red Dragon says, do an Ultraman theme. Yeah, that's going to only apply to, I mean, there's only a small group of people that are going to get that, you know. But hey, it's an idea. Thank you for the contribution. Thanks for the idea. And Jack Wilson contributes $10. He says, just let you know I have some dollars in your PayPal tonight. Wow. Very generous, Jack. His name's John Wilson, but call him Jack. Glenn's Music contributes $2 Australian. He says, how do you make antifreeze hider nightgown? Where's Mitch when you need him? Mitchell. Where's Mitchell Morrison? Jason says, I don't trust all-in-ones. Air cooling is much simpler. Oh, there's nothing about this build that makes any sense. Oh, no, we're not doing this for any logical reason. And the point of this is almost sarcastic to a lot of the YouTube tech channels that have all the big-time subscribers, because so much of what they do, in my opinion, is impractical. And you couldn't run a business doing that. And if you were a young person, or for that matter, somebody looking for a career change midlife, and you think you're going to get a job doing that stuff, well, if you find one, you let me know. Because all the jobs I've ever worked are not that glorious. I've never been paid to install RGB lighting, or, I mean, I've had a couple builds, but I mean, over and above just hooking it up, I don't configure it. That's up to the customer. And I don't get paid to overclock, although people will pay for that, but it's generally, most of the people who do that stuff, mostly people do that themselves. And then, but Anthony Remus, he sells overclock computers, but he's a small business. I don't know that he can scale that. And there's a few boutique system builders that sell pretty expensive computers that will sell them overclocked as well. But again, your likelihood of finding a job in that particular field is going to be slim pickings. Whereas working in a corporate IT environment, doing actual work on real workstations and real laptops used, to provide a service or a product to customers. Whether it's a school system, you've got to keep the school system's server up and running, and remote learning is big right now. Or people are working remotely from home. People are working on factory floors, a lot of robotics and automation. It all has to be maintained. People talked about, customers, employees working at McDonald's are going to be replaced with kiosks. Well, that hasn't happened yet. I've run into maybe 3 or 4 fast food places that had a kiosk available. But the thing with the kiosk is it requires a much higher paid person to fix it and maintain it compared to what somebody working behind the counter pushing the buttons on a register makes. So I'd say I'm all for the kiosk because it means there'll be better paying jobs. But whatever happened to that? I was on the road to Michigan last year. I stopped at a Taco Bell that had one of those kiosks. And it wouldn't let me order something. I wanted something done a certain way, and I'm fidgeting with it, and the guy says, what do you need? I'm like, I think I just wanted a soda. And the guy goes, here, and he hands me a cup. I go, what do I owe you? He says, don't even worry about it. Like, he didn't even want to be bothered to ring it up. And the soda tasted terrible, like it wasn't mixed right. And I was like, I'm glad I didn't pay for that. It was funny to me. It's not like I'm a regular. I'm on the road. I've never been there before. I've never seen this guy in my life. And he just didn't want to be bothered. Here, have a cup. That never happens in Phoenix, let me tell you. Never. So I got to pay you. I got to charge you for the cup. Thomas says, it's a different Thomas. He says, it's got to be a Rick and Morty themed case. That's actually a pretty good idea, if I don't get in trouble. John Jack Wilson sent a very, very generous contribution. I'm almost embarrassed to say what it is. But, wow. I'm not even comfortable mentioning that. Very, very generous. Especially considering he just made a generous contribution last week. So, congratulations, Jack. I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say. Thank you, I guess, would be a good place to start. Then the next place will be trying to figure out how to use it so that it comes back to the channel and not to my yacht. If you're new here, it's an ongoing joke. People think I'm rich. All you YouTube content creators just making bank. It's like all those guys that play football. They're all going to the NFL. And all those minor league baseball players. You know how much a minor league baseball player makes? YouTube won't look so bad. I know it wants me to put the back plate in first, but I want to put the fans on. I don't care what the instructions say. I'm going to do it my way. Yeah. Which way do I want the cable management? Should probably go. It's nice they've got cable management going out the right or the left side. Do I want to keep all my cables together in this area? Oh, you know what? I'm probably going to cover that up. I may have no choice now that I'm looking at it. Uh-oh. Will it even fit here? That aligns. Boy, the bottom is all the way down. Come on, this should be possible. It's their own cooler, for crying out loud. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay. So if that one aligns with that little tiny round hole, then I'm assuming, yeah, then the bottom of the cooler goes. There's some slots. This cooler is the maximum size that can fit in the case. And there's some slots down here at the bottom. There's a little tiny round hole right up here at the top. And that's going to be the top and bottom of the radiator right there. And in doing so, it covers up this side. So the fans, I will orient them so the cables are going to come out on the left here. That's what I was just looking at. Trying to make it look pretty. That's the whole point of this build. So if we have these fans coming out on the left side, that means we'd put one there. And we can just keep going the same way. Put one right there. And we can put one like that. Wow, and it bumps right up against that little nub. You know, we could put two of these cables sort of together. We could kind of bunch them together like that. Nothing wrong with that. And we could even turn this one the same way if we want that cable to go closer to the top. So it's not quite in the line of view. That's totally doable. Well, I don't like the way the top of it sticks out, though, so maybe we're better off this way on that one. These are the types of things we didn't deal with in 1999. You know what I mean? Like when you built a computer, you were just building a computer to make a computer work. Now we not only have to make the computer work, but we want to think about having it light up. And we want to think about hiding the cables and making it more of a showpiece. And it's a different build process for a showcase computer. Showcase computers back in the day were all about performance, or they were about a unique case, but never with a side window, never with any other additional lighting other than a power light and a hard drive. Maybe if you could have had 3 or 4 hard drive lights for each hard drive, that was a thing for a short while. Yeah, I think I want to put these on first. Yeah. I like all the parts all come in this little plastic box. Oh, there's a little thermal compound spreader. How have I been doing it all this time without that? Oh, this is interesting. That's all for the back plate. And that is one serious back plate. Holy smokes. Wow. Really? This is all I get for thermal compound? Really? You can't even give me a tube that I could, save what I don't use? No. No. Cut this open like a ketchup packet and throw out what you don't use. What a shame. Drop the ball there, in my opinion. You knew I was going to find something to complain about. All right. Is my friend coming over or not? Oh, I should tell you, I've been watching a lot of these YouTube reaction videos for 1980s music that these people are hearing for the very first time, and I love them. I can't get enough of these stupid things. What do you know, Morty? You watch reaction videos on YouTube of people reacting to other videos on YouTube. But there's 3 that are really, really good. I've already talked about Twins, the New Trend. And the other 2, one's called, if you guys like these, it's an Indian couple, from East India. Not American Indian. And what is it? Come on, Carrie. Gosh darn it, I lost I much prefer a computer than whatever you call this. They call it a phone. It's a little tiny computer that can make phone calls. Okay, India, okay, not to confuse you. There's one called India Reacts, but she's not Indian. This is going to get a little confusing. But India Reacts, I don't know if she just has exaggerated face expressions naturally, but she reacts like she's listening to the words, like she's listening to Aerosmith's "Janie's Got a Gun," and she's listening to the lyrics. Some people don't listen to music. They either hear the words, but they don't hear the music, or they hear the music and they don't hear the words. She's listening to both. Just like Twins, the new trend. They're listening to the words. They're listening to what's being said and how it correlates to the music and how powerful that can be if you really stop and pay attention and listen. And she's, her eyes are getting big and she's like, what? As Steven Tyler is singing about Janie and her situation and why she's got a gun and what? It's funny. And sometimes it feels a little over the top. And this Indian couple is interesting because they're, a completely different culture. And they mostly just kind of move their heads around and maybe talk a little bit about those songs. They're not super super expressive, but they're genuine. You can tell they're very genuine. And their channel is called, I'm going to find it. Did somebody put it in the chat room already? Give me a second. I don't know why it's not. Enoma, E-N-O-M-A. If you look at Indian Couple Reacts, they often title their videos with Indian Couple Reacts. And they seem very genuine, You just see a lot of this. But I like it. I like that they're liking it. And they're hearing these songs that I grew up with. They're hearing them for the very first time. And it's kind of interesting to look back at that and see their reaction. I got a message from Sean. He's the one that we fixed his AMD computer the other day. And he said, thank you so much. I am blown away. So I will respond back right on. Glad you are happy. And he wanted to thank the community because, his bill was $0.00. Rick Hubbard contributed that $200 case. And then he gave me the little spare parts and screws for his old case so we can reuse that. For another person who would benefit from it, right? It's the community giving back, and the people that we're giving to are also giving back quite often. And that's just really cool. And it's how this whole thing works. And some people can give more than others, but the fact of the matter is it's just the whole gesture. It's the whole concept of it, where the internet, if you look at places like Twitter and Facebook, it's cancel culture and tear everybody down and it's outrage. It's good to escape that and get back to being human, getting out of your bubble and sharing some time and some kind words virtually, especially now when we're all more or less locked up in our homes anyway. For me, I'm always locked up in my house. I'm not a very social person, but doing it this way, I'm much more comfortable with. And having so many people identify and participate and create friendships here in the chat room outside of me, I think is really, really freaking amazing. And again, it's a side effect I never saw coming. But boy, does that make it worthwhile putting up with the nonsense. And what I'm finding is I'm dealing with less and less of the nonsense because the folks in blue are shutting it down really quick now. And I'm not having the abuse problems I was having with some of the people in blue. Everybody's doing such a great, the community in general is so amazing. And I was putting together a little playlist, getting back to the whole music thing, of music that I want to, instead of react to, I want to sort of re-react to it. Kind of revisit some music that I'm not seeing reaction videos on songs that weren't quite as, they were popular for a very short time and perhaps aren't on a lot of people's radar, songs that are mostly forgotten, and you hear it and you go, oh yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do that without having my live streaming ability punished for a copyright violation. I might have to create a little sub-channel to experiment, because I don't know what would happen if I tried to play 5 or 6 songs, or 10 or 20. Who gets the money, right? And that's the whole issue. A lot of these reaction videos are done with one song only, and I don't know if they're getting permission. I don't know how that's working with regards to copyright. But if I don't monetize it, I don't know. But I really want to do it. And if you want a sneak peek at that playlist, if you click on my YouTube page, you will find my playlist there. It's a public playlist. And you'll see a list of songs that I tried to come up with some stuff that's a little out there. Some stuff you may not even recognize the title. And some of it you may not have heard at all. Some of it may have been more regional. And it just covers not just the 80s, but also even recent hits. And not one specific genre. It could be new wave, it could be industrial, it could be goth, it could be emo, it could be rock, pop, synth pop. When it was the 80s, it was all good. All that music was good. Freestyle, love freestyle. Yeah. So in any event, if you're curious and you want to take a peek at that, just look at that playlist. I just started putting it together. So I'm sure it'll be several hundred songs long before I'm done. But I'm letting it simmer, trying to think of things and be self-aware when I'm listening to some songs in my car, when I'm driving. Make a note, put that on the playlist, Carrie, And a couple other contributions have come in, so let's see what we got here. Blackwatch with $2 Canadian says, high five to this community and channel, and back at ya. Marty UL contributes $5, says David Gilmore. Yeah, thank you, Marty. Guy contributes $2 Canadian. He says, what do you think of ASUS motherboards? They're fine. I think, especially if you're building an AMD system, like the Threadripper, rebuild will be an ROG Strix TRX 40-XE gaming motherboard from ASUS. And my preference is Gigabyte, but my office has an ASRock Z370 Pro 4, and that's just one build. I've sold a couple of MSIs. They've been fine. But for profit and for reliability, as far as like knowing exactly what I'm selling a customer, I stick to what I'm familiar with, which is Gigabyte. I've been burned by ASRock and MSI in the past under, a long time ago, 10 plus years ago, and I've had very little reason to go back to them. Well, Gigabyte has been a bit slow in their responses and support requests. They have honored all the support requests eventually. The same isn't true with my past experience with MSI and ASRock, where they basically said, too bad. And it ended up costing me money because these were customers that were affected. And I know at least 2 of the 3 customers that had ASRock boards that all basically caught fire never ordered another computer from me again. So even though I replaced them at my cost and ASRock wouldn't warranty them, and they were all different, the customers were different, power supplies were different, ASRock insisted it was a bad power supply, that their boards wouldn't do that. After the second one, I started taking pictures of them, getting ready for a lawsuit. And then I shifted away from ASRock. I said, I'm not, if that's what you're going to do, then all the boards failed there's like a choke in the upper left corner of these boards, and they caught fire, and they're burned. You can see, I've got pictures of them. And ASRock said, no, that's your power supply doing that. I'm like, no, you don't understand. These are 3 completely different customers, 3 different configurations. The only parts that these customers share is the motherboard. And all 3 customers all suffered. And they said, no, it's not a warranty issue. That's something you did. Really? So I said, okay, I'm not buying your product anymore. I'm going to go out of business. I had to buy my customers new motherboards. Customers were still under warranty. They're brand new systems. They weren't even 6 weeks old. And then I had a problem with MSI. I can't remember what it was. But when I see ECS or if I see BioStar, that just gives me the willies. Because I could tell you stories. Oh, the stories that ECS and BioStar, especially back in the AMD Athlon days. Oh, yeah. People were buying them because they were cheap. Some of the worst, nightmarish, what was it, SIS chipsets? Whew. Oh. Let's do this right. Welcome to Nerd Camp. I'm going to tell you a spooky story about SIS chipsets. What was that? Yeah, it was that bad. That's like campfire nightmare stories for nerds. Really bad. And the VIA chipsets, at least you go to VIA and download the latest chipset drivers, you know? They were okay, but SIS, oh man. Oh. Yeah. Foxconn. I didn't really deal much with Foxconn. And I know it was another one, Diamond Flower, DFI, Diamond Flower International. Yeah. What's up, my boys? What are you guys doing? Did I scare you? Don't worry, SIS is just a ghost now. Yeah. I mean, ghosts don't exist. You'll protect me, won't you? I thought you were going to protect me. Oh, okay, I got you, buddy. I got you. Scruffy. I got your face. Nope, can't have it. It's mine. Please? Okay. Gee, I wonder what he wants. He's like, I'm just going to pet myself. Just put your hand there and I'll walk under it. You got blades in you? I hear them. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. I know. Stop grabbing my face. All right, now I have dog. I've got dog all over my hands. Here, hold on a second. All right, so I was going to put those fans on that radiator, wasn't I? No, don't look at me like that. I know you had some food earlier. I fed you. No, you didn't. What are we on? 2 hours and 20 minutes? And we've got how many people tuned in right now? Let's see. Let's move that up a little bit. What do we got going on? 1,171 people. It's kind of a slow Friday night, but that's all right. We'll keep it intimate. Mike wants to know if he should buy a 10900K or buy a 3950X. Well, the 10900K, if you can find one, should sell for about $530. So if you're finding it for more than $600, I think you're paying too much. 3950X is widely available. The system I built, we built a system here using a Be Quiet Pure Base 600 case with a 3950X with the same RAM I've got in this rig here, the G-Scale Royal, which had no problems. Can't remember which motherboard, but the build video's here, and that system works great. It's fine. But me personally, I would take a 10900K, but because I can't get one at a reasonable price, they're either sold out or they're like $800, which is way, way too much. The 10850K is only 100 megahertz slower, and it's like $30 cheaper, so it's like $499 or something like that. And you can find them for $499 versus, you know, this $530 chip being sold for $800. I don't understand why that's happening. But the 10th gen also runs cooler and doesn't have the RAM compatibility potential. But, you know, at the end of the day, they're both good chips. And if you were doing something that required a lot of cores, then the AMD's your better choice, like Blender, let's say. But if you're gaming, then the Intel's your better choice because the single core performance is better, but it's not a lot better. I like the simplicity of Intel's platform because it's been around so long. AMD will get there in time. They're not quite there yet. Hence all the problems I've had with Redripper, the ongoing saga, and the check I just wrote out to Anthony Remus for $1,800 to pay for a CPU and a motherboard, not to mention the cooler and the RAM I bought separately. And thank goodness for Anthony's help. I mean, I'm happy to give him the $1,800, but I got to tell you something. For $1,800, I could have built two of those Intel 9700Ks and not had any of the headache or difficulty. But yeah. It's a difficult question to answer. I don't know the answer. If it was me, I'd take the 10900K if I could get it at a reasonable price. But I did build a 3950X, and I have another 3950X to build. But it's not being sold to a customer. These are still a little scary for me to support. My sister's experience with the 3950X has been good so far and hasn't required any support. And if that continues, I'll be more confident to offer that configuration to a customer. But by the time, you know, that RAM was expensive and I know I used an expensive board, the price savings isn't there, you know what I mean? But it will outperform the Intel 10900K in multi-core processes, and then won't perform as well in a lot of gaming. Kind of like 6 of one and half dozen of the other, but that's why I've got the 10850K here today, because I could not, there's no way I'm paying $200-300 on top of retail for a 900K when the 850K is imperceptibly basically the same. You know, 100 megahertz, you're gonna notice that, really? Most people won't. And not for the additional $300 or $200, if you could even find them. Anthony helped me find one. He's like, you can get one here, and then I tried it, and I ordered it, and they sent me an email saying, sorry, those are sold out. I said, well, Anthony, I appreciate the thought. Knew it was too good to be true. And even that was $60 over retail. And I was happy to see it that cheap. I think it was $5.99 or $600? It might have been $100 over retail, but it was right at the line where I was like, all right, I will spend it just to get one for the channel. And then they said, oh, we're sold out. Really? Then why is it listed on the website as in stock? You don't have that technology to have a live inventory? what I suspect happened is they had a bigger customer. They said, well, this guy's never ordered with us before, but this other guy gives us a lot of money, so let's give him his and tell him that we don't have any. I bet you that's what happened. So cynical. Because they should know how many they've got in stock automatically. Every time a customer buys one, the computer subtracts it from the inventory. And I mean, if they're not doing that, do I really want to buy from a non-technical technical company? So I don't like Blackmagic products. One of the most non-technical technical companies I've ever run into. It's embarrassingly bad. Their support is really, really bad. Really bad. And they sell really high-end expensive stuff. And they still want you to do everything on paper. And they don't even have forms to download. They want you to like write it down. Seriously? You guys have a little dinosaur punch clock like the Flintstones? What do you do again? Blackmagic has a 4-port HDMI video capture card that's over $300 less than the Magewell capture cards I'm using. And I'm tempted to try it, but my PTSD from dealing with Blackmagic support, like if I have a problem with it, I don't want to go through that again. So I think it's worth spending the extra $325 to get the Magewell card. Because they work. I might be putting those in a little too tight. Probably don't want to do this with an electric driver. The material of the radiator is very soft. It's very easy to strip it out. Yeah, I can feel the fan bending a little, the fan shroud. I think I don't want to do that. Let me take my manual driver and I want to feel for it. Back these off a little bit. Yeah, it's too tight. It's okay. What happens when these get too tight is they can create more vibration, and they can actually throw the fan out of balance if you're bending the frame of the fan, the shroud of the fan. So when I see those little corners bending down, I know I've tightened it too much. It's just something you feel. They shouldn't be tight. They should be snug, but not tight. And that's true of every fan on a radiator. These are typically like copper or brass. I'm trying to remember. Anyway, they strip out super easy, and then it's bad news if you strip it out. Then I think I want to try to, I'm going to turn this torque setting down. Let's see if we can't get this thing mounted up here. This should be an interesting challenge. See, there's times like this I could use Mitch over here to hold the camera so you can see what I'm doing. But if it makes you feel any better, I can't really see what I'm doing either. I know there's a mounting point there. It's there somewhere. Is that straight? I guess it is. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. That can't be right. There's no way for me to put the mounting points down on this side. That's not going to work at all. That's not good. If that lines up there, then how can this side line up? It can't. See where that screw is right there? That one down there, that one right down there should have, there's no mounting points here, anywhere on this case. What are you choking on over there, boy? You eating one of your toys? I don't need any unnecessary vet bills. I can see two screws, two mounting points on the radiator here. And it's definitely crooked. You can tell it's crooked because look. But that's the only way it lines up. I'm doing something wrong. I mean, this area is not wide enough, clearly, where all these slots are. That's not going to cover the width of this radiator. So even if the radiator could go further to the right, if we put it in like here, that's not very good, though. I mean, it's Cougar's case and it's Cougar's cooler. What am I doing wrong? I don't know. Anybody? Suggestions? Let's get involved. How about a United States Marine Corps custom build? I think Bill's done one of those by now. Pretty sure he has. Certainly a military inspired. I don't know if it's Marines. Might be. What do the instructions say about mounting the radiator? Well, the radiator instructions don't say anything. And if the case came with instructions, I don't know where they are. Their site says the 360 millimeter can only be installed in the top. Well, it certainly appears that way, and I'm bummed out. I'm sad, because I wanted it to go there. Darn it. So that means I'd have to get the smaller radiator. I'd have to get a 2. I don't think anything's going to fit in there, quite frankly. It's not wide enough. What a shame. What's that space for if it's not for a radiator? What did they put that? Why is that there? Isn't there a YouTube video where a guy builds one of these and he puts the radiator in like this? Isn't it this exact radiator? No, I think maybe he put it on top. Rats. Well, that's a bummer. That is a real bummer. Can I add some fans, maybe? Can we do that? We don't need to put fans on the front because we're not going to see them, and there's already a fan here that we're going to see through the glass. So this spot for a fan would be totally unnecessary for visual. What about... That space just doesn't seem to have any reason. I mean, they put the 2.5-inch SSD holders back there, but then you've got a couple more here, so that all is unnecessary for our build. We don't need any of that. So it seems like this whole piece could have been cut, but then you wouldn't have enough room for a 360-degree radiator on the top, would you? Oh, yeah, I see that. Okay. Well, that sucks. Okay, so now let me think about this. So if I take this radiator out and I put it on top, do I want the pipes coming out the right or the left? I usually have them come out the right. But if I have them come out the right side, okay, then our cables are all going to be pointing that way. But we only have 2 cable management holes. How do we get the third fan's cables over there? We might have already accidentally put the cables in all the right spots, because this one can be run along the top and then out through that hole, and then these last 2 can all go through that hole, I bet. But what a shame I don't have any cable management holes up there. Well, there is one at the end. Don't mind me while I talk to myself. I'm bummed out. I had this visualized in my head for, how long has this been sitting here? This is all I could see. I'm kind of excited to do it, and then find out I can't do it. Bummer. It's super easy to work on, though. So if we run, oh, then the fans will be on backwards, right? So if I put them in this way for the wires to go out that way, then this pipe has to come down on the left, which is not terrible. You know, I gotta say, I think I actually prefer that. See? Happy little accidents. Take it. This thing is unwieldy. Super easy, though. I mean, as far as reaching in and grabbing stuff, it's all pretty much right there. Except, it already has, our EPS power cable is in the way. Those are seriously in the way. Wow. I don't know that it's going to fit. It's bumping right up against our power cables for the EPS power on the CPU. That is awfully tight. I think I just cut my finger on it. It won't sit. Oh, I see. That's a different problem. That's the fan cables. So if that fan cable goes there, and that one can go there, and then this one hopefully can also go there. Wow. It's not as easy as I thought it was going to be, but it's if the motherboard wasn't there, it'd be easier, but then it'd be harder to get the motherboard in. And it looks like I'm going to have to remove the wire ties from the fan cables and feed them through the cable management holes, because they're bunching up against the radiator in the back of the case. So I can't do that later. I have to do that now. Eric's providing a link about mounting a water cooler, a water radiator in that case. Well, I'm not really interested in mounting I'm interested in mounting that radiator in that case. Oops, I just lost the whole chat room. It's not the same case. That's a different case. That's the Cougar 1. This is a Cougar 2. Nice thought, though. Chevy Arthur, an Amazon $150 gift card goes to Kerry Holzman. Oh, I see. He's telling Chevy Arthur that if you give an Amazon gift card, I get $150. If you go through PayPal, PayPal takes, I think, 3%, unless it's coming out of a checking account or a PayPal balance. Then PayPal doesn't take anything. And if it's offered through Super Chat, YouTube will take 30% of it and make me wait 30 to 60 days, which sucks. It also sucks I don't have the ability to refund it or to have any record of it. Basically, it's all, I guess, an honor system as far as YouTube's concerned. But, you know, any of the contributions are always appreciated regardless. And it's always the thought that counts. When does my vacation start? I think a week from today. I'm not exactly, honestly, I don't quite, I kind of work day by day and I look at my schedule and I'm not exactly sure when I'm supposed to leave, but I think it's Friday or Saturday. Or am I leaving earlier? I'm not exactly sure yet. I think it's next Saturday. I got to look and see when my first night is. If my first night is Monday, then I have to leave so that I arrive on Monday. So it's 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. But if I have to look and see when my first night or first day is at the place. I can never remember because it's always different. It's different this year than it was last year, and I can't even tell you what it was last year. I don't remember. I don't know. It's about a week. Okay, so, So running these two fan cables close together works fine, I think. And this fan cable would ideally run out of the other corner. So let's rotate that a little bit. Really don't want to put that on the fan. It's heavy. It seems like it would be more appealing that way. Had something making a little noise. I wanted to shut it down. Okay, so Echo in the Bunnyman says, Carrie, I have a whole mountain of computer parts in my living room getting ready to go together because of your channel. I run a small reloading and gun channel on YouTube. Thanks for all the help. Right on. That's cool. Enjoy your build. Take your time and enjoy it. And keep making your videos, man. I imagine, you know, I stopped doing my gun stuff because of how divisive it is with the people in the world today. You know, they only see it as a violence thing. They don't see it as a genuine skill, or, you know, they don't see any other. Some people don't see any other purpose for it. So rather than argue with them and fight for it, I just don't do that stuff on video anymore. But it's cool. Glad you're doing it. Hold on, did I do the wrong one? I think I did the wrong one. That one's going to go in there. No, I did the right side. Okay. So that one can go there. And this one. So that middle cable, if I put the radiator in this way, this wire is nowhere near the wire management hole. So now you've got to rotate this one 90 degrees clockwise. Something as simple as putting some fans on would have never been required this much thought 20 years ago. Oh, that's a tight fit. Oh, I'll just slap this all in one cooler on real quick, he said. Just take a minute, he said. I'll just do it for fun, he said. Oops. Yeah, so I just did this to myself, didn't I? I voluntarily took on something I didn't have to do, spent money I didn't have to spend. I did it for you. You made me do this. This is not my fault. It's not my fault this is happening. So glad they individually wire tied every single pair of wires on each fan. All right, let's try this again. Seriously? Did I seriously do that? I did. How did I do that? I couldn't have done that with it if I had tried. I wasn't even trying. How did that even happen? So that's a problem to look out for, I guess, huh? Maybe don't trap your cables underneath the fans. That would explain a little bit about why that wasn't seating flat. Not exactly your shining moment, Carrie. Oh no, I made a mistake. He's human. I knew it. Oh good. Oh good. Because that's what I wanted to do tonight. Was just unravel Christmas tree lights. You did this to yourself. But it's so cool. Mm-hmm. They wanted me to install the back plate first. Let's see about that. I mean, the case is big. You think they could have just given me another half an inch here? Did they not know that there was going to be a fan over the CPU power connector? That the engineers couldn't have foreseen that being a potential conflict point? Stay out of my way. Why is this so difficult? This is all made by the same manufacturer. It should all just go together with no problems. Why is this not seating now? But it's so cool. Mm-hmm. Trying to get the mounting holes to line up. But they don't want to talk to me no more. Let's just start with one there, and then let's go to the opposite corner. See what that's going to look like. Okay. Is that going to work? After 27 attempts, did I get it? You know, it's always the 27th time. That's the one you really want to go for. That's where you're really cooking with gas, is the 27th time. Geez, I hope they gave me enough screws. The driver's on its lowest torque setting of 2. I don't have the patience. You know, I just barely just touched that fin. I put a little teeny tiny little ding in there because I'm going too quickly now. All right. Oh, it just got heavier. Ow. This thing's got to be the death of me. I went to pick it up and I just heard it scrape right on my Lazy Susan, and I'd rather not scratch up my Lazy Susan. So I gotta pick this up properly. All right. Okay. Cables, cables, cables. Why do I have an extra CPU? Oh. This motherboard has the extra, has an 8-pin and a 4-pin. And the power supply, thankfully, came with 2 EPS 8-pin CPU power headers, so we have a spare one we're not using, which is, that's fine. It just looks terrible. I'm going to find a way to hide that. I guess maybe when it's in the case, you won't see that anyway. Chevy Arthur says, I'm sending you a $50 Amazon gift card. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Or is it Chevy? Chevy? Thank you so much for your support, your continued support. Yeah, there it is. Thank you, Chevy. Appreciate that. Well, that was harder than I thought it was going to be. Totally worth it, though. I mean, it does look good up there. Like, you can't really, I mean, you kind of see that. I'll worry about that later. What a shame that such a nice power supply. It's semi-modular because the motherboard power connectors are permanent, which is no big deal unless the power supply goes bad and you've got to replace it. And I've got to figure out how I'm going to take that power connector off of there. Actually, it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too shabby. Just I'm not sure what I did here. But I don't like that they didn't cable sleeve it, so they're yellow and black cables. I wish they were just all black, or even this. Look at how the multiple rainbow of colors there. That on a cooler, on a power supply of that price, I expect it to not have all those colors. I feel like Cougar dropped the ball on this power supply. Maybe I didn't order the right one. I only saw one. I don't know. It'll do. Don't get me wrong, it'll do. It's just for this level of money, and the whole purpose of it is for stunning looks. Why are we broadcasting all these rainbow? I guess unless we turn on rainbow lights, but if you wanted it all one color, that's going to throw it off. And you can't change it. It's not modular. That's one of the ones that's not modular. I've only just now realized this. I'm looking at it now and I'm like, what was I thinking? Oops. That is not ideal. And so the build must continue. John recommends black electrical tape. I mean, yeah, it would work. But do I really want to go there? It seems so unprofessional. Carrie, the tube should go on the other side because it will have a problem with the video card. I don't think it will. Let me see. If the pump mounts here, how exactly is that going to get in the way of the video card? Explain that to me. I also think it's going to look better because if I had the pipes coming out the other side, I'd have to run them right across. Say Cougar on both sides of this cooler? I can't even tell anymore. And you might say, well, with the pipes on the other side, you wouldn't run into this issue of hitting these cables, but it's the fan shroud, not the pipes. So that doesn't clear us of anything. So it's really just about looks. I feel like it just looks better this way rather than having the pipes. I don't know, what do you guys think? If I have the hoses running across, which is traditionally the way I do it. I usually flip this the other way. But I'm trying to visualize it. But then you have to imagine these hoses are going to run underneath all three fans. So at least here, if we talk about any potential blocking of airflow, it's only this one fan potentially, and not really. And if this cable has to be taut from the opposite side all the way across this way, will that look better? Or will it look worse? It's a judgment call. I mean, it's going to operate the same. This is all about aesthetics. This is all about looks, and it might be worth taking it apart and turning it around just to see. It's hard to visualize the length of the cable. Jeff says you could just replace the power supply with a modular of a different brand. I could. I was thinking it would all be color matched, but you can't see this anyway. The color's down at the bottom, which was stupid, and it's not the same color. Well, this color here is a little off from the handle. This is the same color as the handle, but this, I don't know, maybe it's my lighting. Maybe they are the same color, but you can't see it. With the fan down, you cannot see it. These are lessons we can all learn together. You could get extra sleeving. Can I? I don't know that I can. May not even reach with the cooler with that cooler with the tubes on the front. Can you get low profile fans to work on that radiator? Well, I wouldn't want to. I'm trying to keep it all specific to Cougar. And those are fairly low profile. I mean, I've seen thicker 140 millimeter fans. They're not bad. And they are RGB. But if the pipes are coming out of the right side, I'm sure that it'll reach. If I turn it around the other way, it'll reach. I just don't know that it'll look better or worse. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, heat shrink. Yeah, I don't want to deal with heat shrink. Cougar video fans are above. I'm not using Cougar video. I'll be using EVGA for video. And I want to mount the video card vertically regardless. I think you're thinking of a graphics card mounted horizontally. And as I mentioned earlier, this has the ability, as you can see, with these two slots, that I can put the graphics card in vertically, but it requires a PCIe extension that I can't find for sale for Cougar. I've tried one from Fantex and I tried one from Thermaltake, and a guy used Thermaltake's adapter, which fits, but you can't screw it down. But once you screw the card down, the adapter's not going anywhere. But I would feel better to get the right. When you're spending this kind of money, I'd like to do it all right, all correctly. I don't want to cut corners and I don't want to hodgepodge it. I'd like to see how Cougar intended their parts to be used together, and I'm a little baffled right now. It's not as clear as I thought it would be. If you turn the hoses around, or if you turn the radio, it's a long night. If you turn the radiator around, the hoses may block your rambling. Yes, I agree. The bling on the ram, as opposed to my rambling, I do tend to ramble. That's what I'm saying. I don't think those hoses are going to look better. They're going to be a little droopy, and they're going to sort of, if we assume that they're coming out at least 4 inches before they start to bend, it will slightly cover the ram, versus this way we could sort of, nylon zip tie them. Maybe even do it like this. Maybe we can go around it with some nylon zip ties and go underneath the block like that. That wouldn't look too bad at all. Oh, I kind of like that. I do kind of like it. Yeah. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that'll look good. Some black nylon zip ties will just tie right into that. You won't even notice it very much, versus running the cables. But again, without turning it around and looking at it, but to turn it around I have to flip the fans. So all the cables come out the other side, and then I have to pull the cables back through. It's a lot of work just to look at it. But without looking at it, I don't really know. It's going to work equally well either way. This is just purely aesthetics. So Lloyd is pointing me to a Fantex bracket, but that's the problem is the mounting, potentially. The mounting area where the holes are, at least on Thermaltakes, doesn't line up with the holes on the Cougar. So maybe that works with, does anybody in the reviews say that it worked with their Cougar? If I was working with a Fantex case, that'd be great. I'd like to buy the Cougar product, but I don't see it. But thank you for providing that link. I hadn't seen that one before. Eric again points me to a video. I don't need to see a video. I need to see a part for sale. I don't need to see a video. I need to find the part from Cougar. If you can find me the part from Cougar and send me a link to that, that would be much more beneficial. The Cougar manual shows the fans on the outside. You can put the fans in push or pull or both. It's really a choice. The question is, where are you going to see it? Do you want to see the lights on these fans up across the top of the case, which you cannot see through? I can't see through the top. The top on this, it's completely blocked off. So I don't want the fans to go on top. That seems stupid to me. You won't see them. They'd have to be down below, and they can shine down. But you obviously, you can put them on the top if you want to, or you can even do both. But I'd have to look at the owner's manual or the instruction manual to see what Cougar's saying there, because I can't imagine why you'd want those on top. You can't see the top. Maybe you see the reflection looking at it sideways? I don't know. I'd have to look at the manual. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. William Lynn says that Fantex GPU bracket will not work with the Cougar case. Carrie, can the whole cooler go on top? I don't know why you would, well, could you put the radiator on top and then put the fans underneath of it? Then that would buy me more room. But no, well, the hoses wouldn't be able to come out. See, the hoses have to come down, and the top only has holes for the size of 3 fans up here. They couldn't just leave that open. There wouldn't be enough support to keep it together. It would just fall apart. So, no, you can't put the radiator on top because you would have no way to run the lines down. John says, sorry, my eyes are not very good. As I take a second look, the fans are, in fact, on the inside. Yeah, that's how I would do it. William Lynn says, Cougar does not sell a vertical GPU bracket. Well, it doesn't make any sense. How can they offer the vertical GPU in this case without the bracket? How's that? What are other people doing? I mean, I know that one guy used a Thermaltake extender, and then he just didn't secure it. I don't know. You want to zoom in on that? Sure, I'll zoom it in. Didn't realize I was that zoomed out. So this is the inside chassis. And we can give it a little twirl. Well, this is what I'm trying to do here. See, now I'm too zoomed in. This is what I'm trying to do here is show you some of the real challenges that face some of these builds that these other YouTube channels will make look easy through editing. You don't know how many days they may have spent messing around and trying different configurations, and then they get to edit all that stuff out, and then they have editors, and they have a camera person, and they might have to do something again after they experiment it and say, okay, now I'm ready, let's roll the camera now. Or they might, you know, the camera guy didn't get the shot even though the person on camera did it right, so now the person has to take it back apart and do it again for that camera shot. You don't see any of that stuff. They could spend a month putting together a 1-hour build. So I'm trying to show you a realistic time concept, unless you build the same computer over and over and over again, in which case you'll get really fast at it. Same motherboard, same chip, same RAM, same case, same power supply, you know, it's all the same. Then through repetition, you're going to get real quick. But nothing in this industry seems to last very long. One of the reasons why I use the Corsair 200R case is I'm very comfortable with how quickly I can get. I know exactly what can fit in there and what can't. There's no surprises on the 200R for me. And it's still, I think, one of the best bargains on the market. And the last I know, it was still Corsair's #1 selling computer case, but I don't know if that's still true. Still, and especially if you're working, like explaining everything as you're doing it, it's going to slow you down. When you haven't even done it before, how do you explain how to do it? I'm kind of following a general rule of, well, this is typically how this works. I don't know. That's typically how it works, but this is breaking some of the typical rules, which is why I bought it. Like, I don't even know what's this hole for? What's that do? I don't know. Why is it there? Weight savings? Does that really do much? I don't know. I don't know. Does it make any sense? And it's all riveted. It's not like the top comes off or anything. I mean, it's pretty open to work on it. Why would you put a fan down here? They got a spacer. I don't know why they do that. And what are these? What's this whole area for? It seems unnecessary. Other than they just needed an excuse to extend the case inside to hold a 360-millimeter radiator, whether or not you're using one. Like you could have cut it down to 260, 280, 280, and made it that much shorter and stubbier, and just brought it in a little bit. And if they wanted to, they could have made it a little taller, so if you wanted to go 360, you could have gone 360 across the front the way I wanted it. Well, no, I wanted it here, but they could have done it this way. That would have been fine, but they didn't do that. So this is a little more challenging than I thought it would be, because it looks super easy. In fact, everything I have done up until this point has been one of the easiest computer cases I've ever worked on. It's only until I started doing this that it started running into some difficulty. I changed the power supply, I changed the CPU, and I changed the cooler. It was all running. I said, that's not good enough. I did this to myself. All right. We're about 3 hours and 25 minutes into this. Mark wants to know if there are mounting holes in the bottom of the case for a vertical bracket. Yeah, that's the problem. The vertical bracket from Thermaltake mounting holes don't line up with the mounting holes in the case. Yeah. Turn the radiator around, Carrie, Hugh says. Then the radiator lines can reach further and fit well. The case is not very usable, so you will buy a more expensive case. I don't agree with that. The vertical area next to the motherboard is for vertical radiator mounting. It isn't. There's no radiator that thin. Look at how thin that is. That's what? 3.5, maybe 4 inches. There's no radiator that thin. No radiator is going to fit there. The radiators are too wide this way for any of this. Sorry. There's no radiator that I am aware of that is that wide. That would be the thinnest radiator I've ever seen. It can't fit there. You could put maybe a 240 radiator, 240? 280 mil radiator right here in the front behind this. But then you're going to run your hoses all the way clear from there all the way to here. That seems like that's a reach for most all-in-ones. Bit says, Carrie, the RAM's going to be blocked anyway, no matter what. No, it won't, because the way I just told you, I would tie that up with the nylon zip tie. All the hoses will stay completely on the left side and above the graphics card regardless. So I'm absolutely confident that's the right position that I prefer. The vertical GPU cable they're using is the Fantex PHVG Puke TO2. Is that the one that it was sent to the Amazon link for? Yeah, that's the one. But that's got a whole metal bracket and everything that would have to come off. And that's assuming that those 2 points, and remember there's a Cougar and a Cougar 2 case, and people are confusing those. I don't know. Maybe it fits, I don't know. Bit says this space here is for a water cooler pump. That makes a reservoir. That makes sense. That makes sense to put a reservoir here. Totally on board with that. Okay, that's logical. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I get it. Thank you. So here's one that says Asia Horse new PCIe 3.0 16x riser cable extension. So again, the question is whether or not those mounting holes are going to line up. That's the problem. But I appreciate the link. I just don't know what the measurement is on those holes and if it'll line up. But with Amazon, you know, it's easy to return stuff, but definitely not something I want to do before leaving for a vacation. Cougar's got to make one. They have to. And then, yeah, there's another one, graphics card vertical kickstand. It's all about where those screws are located that are holding the piece down, and if they're going to line up with these 2 mounting points, because we can't move those. That's the whole, and they can't be too far back. Even if they line up, they've got to line up perfectly, because if it seats the video card too far back, it won't line up with the slot. And if it seats the card too far forward, then it won't even sit down in there. It's a real, that's why Cougar's got to make it. They have to. Look up on YouTube. There have been tons of builds with this case, and each build lists the GPU cable they have used. Yeah, I'm going to have to do that. But remember that there's at least one that I saw where they used the thermal take, and if you just fast forward through the video, you won't realize he was not able to secure that. You have to listen and watch the video, and he explains that, well, he initially secured it, it wouldn't fit, and he had to take the screws out, and that when he tightened the graphics card down, that wasn't moving anyway. But you couldn't ship it like that. There's no way you could ship it, not that I'm going to, but that's a real hodgepodge. I don't like that at all. Cougar should make this vertical bracket. We just have to find it. Maybe I'll reach out to Cougar. All right, guys. I think I'm going to just wrap it up for right now. And I got a friend that has to stop by and pick up some parts. And I might come back later to complete this, but I need a little break myself. I need to sort of unwind a little bit, think about how I want to proceed. So stick around. Well, I don't know. If I don't see you later tonight, should be back Monday. I'd really like to fire this up tonight. So I might come back in about an hour or something. Hopefully you'll join me again if you're still up, or watch for the video to be released. All these amazing contributions today. Thank you guys so much. Once again, Mike, Guy, as well as Madi Yoel, Black Watch, and Glenn's Music, and Jack Wilson, very generous, Red Dragon, Michael Dane, of course, Robert Malovich and James Morris, John Panarelli, Madi Yoel again, and Michael Dane again, Randy Ored, and Armed Chinchilla. Thank you guys again for all of your contributions, your support. Also to Sterling, William Romero, Tim Oliver, again from Blackwatch and Cooter, Ryan Grady, and Tristan G, John Reese, RM, Thomas Backenstow, thank you for your generous contributions tonight. Kevin Arsenault and Copwatch Transparency in Virginia, David Gilman, thank you so much again for your generosity. Crystal, building your computer, I'm jealous. You're going to love that computer. Thank you for that Amazon gift card. Thank you to others as well who have sent Amazon gift cards that I don't have the opportunity to acknowledge individually, but I do send thank yous to them personally. John Baradale and Tron Lazans. Oh, I missed Tron's contribution. Contributed 100 Norwegian krona. It says, keep it your way. Thank you, Tron. I'm sorry I missed your contribution earlier. Rock and Rob, thank you. And Madi Yoel, thanks again. Speesbort and Red Dragon and Copwatch Transparency in Virginia, thank you all again. Rick Hubbard and Paul O'Brien. Rakshit Patel. Thomas Backenstow, again with another generous contribution. Flappity, as well as Rock and Rob again, and Chris Keegan and Michael Dane again. Michael Dane's kicked us off with a nice contribution of $50 right at the start of the show. The first contribution, of course, from Sharon Idle. Thank you, Sharon, as always, and thanks to all my friends in blue for keeping it civil in the chat room. And for those of you not yet blue, although I did turn some people blue today, the only secret is just don't be a jerk. Participate in the chat, be nice. I will recognize you. Eventually, your name will become familiar to me. If you just watch and you don't participate, you're missing out on half the fun here. So I hope you'll be brave and say hello at some point. But in the meantime, just don't be a jerk. How about that? Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this Friday night, September 11th, 2020. And hopefully after a little break, I will come back live and see if I can't wrap this thing up and fire it up. I'm not going to finish it, but I want it to boot, and I want to slide the frame back in the housing. It's been a while. I need a little, get my RGB on. Did I just say that? That's wrong. All right, that's it for me. I'll see you soon, and bye for now.